In this episode, we're starting with a Bugatti from the film Need for Speed. We're going to be tearing it down and rebuilding it into a mid-engine 67 Mustang Fastback, proving it out on the drag strip, and then bringing it back to the shop and building it into the ultimate wide-body Mustang Fastback to debut at SEMA in the Holley booth.
Took a lot of years of hard work, saving my money, not spending it on Lamborghinis, 5 a.m. mornings, never taking naps, 0 unnecessary trips to Disneyland, no days off, not investing in crypto. What I'm saying is, guys, is the determination and the dedication is real, and because of that, we're finally able to do it. I bought a crashed Bugatti. So before we take the cover off of this bad boy and show you around our crashed Bugatti, I want to tell you how we got it. A little bit of story time. Way back in 2014, when the world was a fair and decent place, there was a movie being made that would be one of the most iconic movies made that year. The movie is based off the video game Need for Speed. The movie is called Need for Speed, starring Kid Cudi, featuring Aaron Paul. And if you look at the movie poster, hiding out there in the corner is my Bugatti. That's right, there was a plethora of supercars and hypercars purchased for this movie, for the filming. My Bugatti was a hero Bugatti. It was part of the race until some jerk cop put a brick on the accelerator pedal of his cop car and then crashed into my car. My Bugatti spun me around. Then the Bugatti was done being used in the film, never featured again in the film, sold off to a wonderful man out in Atlanta, and then sold to me. And there's the story of how I got my Bugatti. Story time over. Time to take off the covers and show you around. Here we go. Bugatti! So it played a Bugatti in the movie, but it was a replica Bugatti because they don't crash $1 million cars just to get a 2-second scene in a movie, thankfully. So the backstory behind how they made these replicas for the movie is quite interesting. They actually got permission from Bugatti to build replicas of their cars, and Bugatti sent them the 3D files of the exact dimensions and everything of the body and all the parts for their cars. I bet similar to what they might do for video games and stuff like that. And the company that was producing the movie and building these, they actually had the bodies made out of, the replica bodies made out of fiberglass by some place in LA. And then the bodies were placed on what you see here, used for the movie, and then they were destroyed because obviously Bugatti wouldn't want to, do a partnership with you and then have you go sell a replica of their car and make a bunch of money on it. So the bodies were destroyed. Some of the pieces are still left over. Let me show you. It's not a lot. So for starters, I mean, it's labeled pretty clearly. Like, I mean, I know what I got, right? They got a replica Koenigsegg steering wheel. I believe this is off the Koenigsegg cars that were used in the movie. They just threw that on here. And then you have the replica Bugatti dash. So this is all still here. You can see the little like fake clock has the Bugatti logo right there. And then that little EB icon, I'm not really even sure what that is for the fake stereo. All this is just fiberglass, and it'll all be gone by the end of this episode because, man, do I not want to get sued by another movie company. Or Bugatti. Please don't sue me. Both of you guys, please don't sue me. I'm a nice guy. Anyways, I do believe that is the end of the Bugatti-ness, other than you could kind of tell by the skeleton on this thing that it was built, the outer part of the cage was built to hold the Bugatti replica body. This car is interesting. It's actually made by a company called Race Car Replicas. That is a sister company of SLC, Super Light Cars. Those guys are the guys that make the adapters that we run on our LS to Graziano transmission in the Jumpicon right there, and in the Bertcon, which is over here. This is being worked on for our next track day. Those guys basically pioneered mating Lamborghini transmissions, transaxles to LS engines and lots of other engines. So speaking of, let me show you the power plant for this thing. It's another very popular combination, which is the LS engine. That's a LS3. This has got about 30 minutes of use on it apparently. And then you can see their adapter plate in there, which goes to the Porsche transaxle. Oscar's right here, and he was doubting whether or not it was used in the movie. I'll show you why I know it was used in the movie. It's actually interesting. Normally, you never really know. There's apparently 2 Bugattis, since mine is number 2, obviously. I know there was only 2 used on set. I was told by the people that own this car that it was used on set, but I mean, how are you gonna be sure, right? Well, you can be sure because this is the one that was crashed in the movie. And so if it was crashed, right, where it's crash damage, well, okay, here's the scene, bang, spin around, okay. In my cantilever suspension joint right here, I've got a bolt that has come out. That's some damage that obviously could have came from just a lack of Loctite, right? But also you can see the scarring on this wheel where it was hit right here. There's also some stuff on this lip right here. That is the signs right here that this was hit by a Dodge Charger. And it made it do a nice little spin. Also, the Hero cars do not come with the hydraulic e-brake. That's meant for stunting. So this was a Hero, well, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was a Hero car or if it was the stunt car. Doesn't really matter because it's not applicable to anything we're doing with it. So, but it did see screen time, which is kind of cool, but really doesn't matter at this point. I realize we've done all this talking about this thing, and you're probably wondering, like, you know, why did you buy this thing? What's the plan? So I bought this because SLC or RCR, whichever company you want to talk about, they're basically one and the same. They build an amazingly good chassis. I mean, these cars, they make amazingly good track day cars and all sorts of stuff. It is a really rigid aluminum chassis that they throw an LS in the back of, and it's like a really cool engineered bare bones race car. SLC, super light cars. I mean, it's very lightweight. They power by an LS. They put a pretty cool body on it. They slap these things around, and then they just go zooming around tracks and stuff. I don't know. There's an SLC owners group on Facebook that I'm a part of, and it looks like they really enjoy their cars. And I got like a banging deal on this thing. It was an amazing, amazing deal. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna buy it, and then I'm gonna figure out what I want to build out of it later. And now is later, actually. So I've hinted towards this already, and some of you've probably already figured it out. But there's one build that has eluded us. It has escaped us. It was also a movie car. This is a movie car. It was a 1967 Mustang Fastback. And we got into some serious legal trouble, and we lost the build consequently. And although that movie car style, exact styling of that car is no longer really that desirable to me, I'm not just wishing I had that e-car sitting in my driveway, because it would only remind me of the absolutely miserable time I had dealing with that company and those people, and just lots of bad memories. The 67 Mustang Fastback is a car that I really, really, really love. The Carroll Shelby designed GT500 edition, you know, the Shelby GT500 67 Fastback is a car that I absolutely adore. And I felt like that build just kind of slipped through my fingers because I styled it wrong. And now I'm gonna build another one. I'm going to build another one, and I'm gonna have a 67 Fastback in my stable, in my collection, so I can look at the beauty of it. I think just body lines alone, it's one of the prettiest cars in the world. Now ours is gonna be different because we're gonna be building it on top of this SLC chassis. So it's gonna be mid-engined. It's gonna be powered by a Chevy power plant instead of a Ford power plant, which is, honestly, I'm not super stoked on that whole thing. I'd rather it be a Ford and a Ford car, but we're using what we got. We're kind of running what we brung here. I'm not going to engine swap a car that I just bought to build another car. That's just too much, guys. Let me get behind the camera and show you some cool features of this that are gonna kind of come over into our Mustang. One is how low to the ground this thing sits. So it's going to influence the design of our Mustang quite a lot, because Mustangs actually sit typically quite high off the ground, and this car sits quite low. So we have to build almost what would look like kind of a slammed Mustang. The SLC chassis come with cantilevered suspension, which is super cool, and it means that we don't have a big tower sticking out of here. Although that probably doesn't change our design aesthetic much, it's going to make it very much easier for us to build that Mustang body onto here. And they probably do that because they're constantly putting movie car bodies onto these things. So it's a nice little package that's tucked right up in here. We have this center exit exhaust, which I absolutely love, and I've got a design that I'm working on that utilizes this center exit exhaust. Just imagine if, well, right now it's center down, but imagine if it was like center out. center right out the back. So the Mustang has a really, really good spot to put that, and I'm really, really stoked on that idea and that concept too. These wheels are actually really cool. They are a 3-piece wheel, so you can see that we have the centerpiece right here, and then the lip and the barrel right here and here. So I can actually change the offset of these wheels by getting new lips or barrels, and that'll change the offset of the wheel. Very cool dual caliper setup for stunting. The Hydro e-brake goes to its own caliper, which is really cool. This thing runs on just the Chevy GM ECU, which is right down here. It's all really, really simply wired, and it actually runs quite nicely. Oscar, you want to fire it up for the people? Yeah, it's not easy to get in and out of, and we're not going to make it any easier to get in and out of. So it actually has a key under there, and then you turn the key and it primes the motors. It just starts right up. So I bought a running and driving functional mid-engine vehicle that actually is sports oriented, and this has all the same sporty stuff that they use on the RCR vehicles, I believe, as far as like the control arms and the suspension and stuff. And they built really, really fast track cars, so I do feel like this is going to be a great performance vehicle. The build for this is going to be because I want a 67 Mustang Fastback, so that'll be like kind of just looks wise, it'll look great and it'll be a beautiful car to own. But B, I'd love to do stuff like autocross with this car. Drag racing would be fun, but it's not going to be like some insanely fast, 6-second car or anything like that. But things like autocross, maybe circuit driving, and just an all-around really fun car to have is the goal for this vehicle. Really all we have to do is attach a body, build an interior, and go enjoy it. What could go wrong? All right, guys, enough talking. The guys are desperate to get down to work. We're gonna take all of the body holding metal tubing off of this thing, dashboard off. Let's just take a bunch of stuff off, see where we land. Oscar, please step out of my Bugatti frame. Replica Bugatti frame. All right, so we put this thing on a diet on the front end, cut all this stuff off. We're leaving bars that we think, hey, these might be helpful in the future. So we got these straight out bars. We had some of these like this on our last Mustang build, really helped us build off of. And then this guy, questionable. And if we keep any of this, it'll obviously be fully cleaned up. We'll wire wheel it down to bare metal, primer, and paint over it. These aren't gonna last long. We just started like right about here and then worked our way to the front. Now let's take the last Bugatti replica piece off of this vehicle. This dash can go. You guys want to give me a hand? Interesting. Oscar found a halfway mark, so I guess we'll take that pad off. Take the half of it off. Maybe you have to push it forward, push the whole wheel forward, and then it comes off. Ah, all right. So I wonder what type of wheel is in the guts of this thing. Very interesting. That's heavy. That's a heavy wheel. All right, let's rip this dash in half. Oh, you halved it. All right. Consider it halved. That is the only piece, and will forever be the only piece in the shop that says Bugatti on it. All right, let's see what we got under here. Electrical power steering assist that we didn't know was a thing and never turned on. I like this. Is this one of the expensive ones? Will somebody Google this real quick? See how much this costs? Because I know there are some of these that are like spendy. So we'll definitely want to...
Oh, here's all our switches.
There's switches?
Yeah, I told you. There's got to be a bunch of...
Wait, what does this say? Chassis... Oh my gosh, look, it is a Bugatti. It says it right there, guys. Bugatti number 2. Does it say purpose T-bone by police? Whatever we do with this build, that stays right there. We have to work around that. I freaking love that, dude. If not, we put it on the wall. I love this chassis. Chassis 105J, car Bugatti number 2, B2, purpose T-bone by police. I do mock things up on the computer. I visualize these things using software to try and save money, so I don't, you know, for instance, buy a whole 1967 Mustang body and have it not work out. But sometimes on the computer, things are like a problem, but you're like, it's not a big problem, and then you just play off of it. Well, I kind of ignored a big glaring problem, and let me show you. So this is a 67 Mustang Fastback side panel, basically. It holds your door. That's actually where your door bolts in. That's where your quarter panel glues in. That's where your roof glues in. I'm kidding when I say glue. You weld all this stuff together. Anyways, we unboxed this from our massive shipment of parts over there, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And we brought it over to the car and we set it at its relative height. You can see a few things. One is this car is going to be extremely low to the ground, which I think is really cool. It's going to add a lot of character to this build. Two, I think it's pretty obvious that this front wheel is too close, and that's why we've talked about cutting the body in half and moving it forward, because it, you know, the specs of the 67 Mustang have this wheel being 3.5 inches further that way. But three is cockpit positioning. You can see if you just draw this little triangle right here, the room to get in and out of the vehicle is really limited. So we're looking at ways to try and fix that problem. So to fix that problem, we can this is a fixed back seat. We can use a reclining seat, which we will. We have one on the way. So that'll scooch us back a little bit more, give us a little bit more room for entry. Other than that, there's some niceties that we're going to do by moving the pedal and moving the steering wheel after we make the chop. Other than that, there's nothing that we can do. So would I rather have a mid-engine 1967 Fastback that's a little hard to get into, or not have one at all is the question. And the answer is, let's keep building, because I want my Fastback. So getting to work, we've got to get some of the existing tubular structure out of our way to be able to get the side panel on here. In the 3D mock-ups that I've done, the bottom of this side panel, which I can't really show you, I can show you right here. The bottom pinch weld on this side panel has to be touching this part of the frame, which means this has got to go for now. This should go, and I think that's what we would want to cut out for now at minimum. So I'm gonna grab a saw. This poor thing. It's looking sadder than the Supra. All right, guys, well, got to take it down to build it back up, right? So I noticed when I was getting into a lot of these bolts, they started spinning. These ones came out clean, and then the other ones started spinning. It made me start thinking, okay, there must be access. I started trying to cut them off with a saw, and then I thought, you know, there's got to be access from another part. And I realized this rear bulkhead right here, this basically this to this and up here, that is removable. So I took out the center beam that went through here. I think that was like kind of a stunt beam because they knew they were going to hit the car over here. So that's gone. We may rebuild that for safety. It looked like it was pretty solid, pretty stout. Probably a pretty good thing to have, but I don't think you have to have that. I don't think SLC cars run those, and I can do more research, or probably some SLC owners will chime in the comments whether or not those come from factory. But I do want to remove this this bulkhead. So it's got some tape, some aluminum tape everywhere. This car has it absolutely everywhere. They were using this kind of as a firewall, which isn't good enough in the long term. I guess in the short term for a movie car, it's probably good enough, but for us we need actual firewall stuff that keeps us a little bit more safe in the event of a fire in the engine bay. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the aluminum tape, remove the screws. That'll give me access to this rear bulkhead, and a couple cool things that we can do then. We can see the wiring that's running through from the engine through here. We can see how the shift cables run, and then we can also see our fuel cell, estimate size, and see the certifications that the fuel cell has. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew, remove the tape, remove this bulkhead. All right, we got the rear bulkhead off. This is a FIA certified fuel bladder. The company that made it looks like it's out of business, and the date on it is FIA 1999. So any sanctioning race bodies that are going to require like a crazy up-to-date
fuel cell safety stuff. Like we can't take this on the Baja 1000, the Mint 400, probably can't drag race it in the like, you know, 7-second range. Other than that though, you know, it's a really good quality, really safe fuel cell. It's just a little out of date on the safety recs. One thing is it doesn't have a fuel sender unit, so that is something that I actually ordered. We will go ahead and install that and then run a wire, and then I can have a gauge that'll tell me how much fuel I have. A little bit better for everyday driving. Overall, very, very happy to see that in there, and that's awesome. And the bulkhead can, you know, just bolts right back in and goes in. We cleaned up all the tape around. All right, so now that all that stuff is out of the way, we can start replacing our side panel onto the car and seeing where things need to land. We need to get the side panel so this coolant line tucks inside the side panel. The side panel maybe goes under it a little bit. Coolant line needs to go inside it. Get it really snugged up right up against the side of the car, and that will be our flat spot and set our width spot, and then we'll start to see how things fall together. Fingers crossed we can get this thing on here. If not, whatever's in the way gets cut off. Rear inner outer wheel arch. You heard that right? That's the inner outer wheel arch, because that's the inner wheel arch. Anyways, it's hanging us up. We can't put the car body all the way down, so we're gonna, luckily that unbolts, so we don't have to cut anything. We're gonna unbolt it, and then we've marked where the center line is, so we're center line over the wheel. We'll set that down, snug it up, and reap what we sow. What we sow pretty quick here. The coolant line is blocking the body from moving on. Rather than notching this out and just shoving it on there, we actually want to replace this coolant line. You can see obviously it's rusty. It's actually eating away at the frame. This has got to be replaced with some aluminum and then a 90-degree bend. So we could take it off right now, but we actually, you know, we just moved in here. We don't have any more trays to catch the coolant so we can properly dispose of it. So we're not going to pop those lines off right now. So it's time to jump to the other side, continue putting the cage on a diet. We're going to go ahead and remove this front section, because you can just see by our kind of forecasted expansion zone here for the hood. You laughing at my words? Forecasted expansion zone is that's not going to work, so we got to cut that off. This is going to hit here. This has got to go. The whole other side. We're going to unbolt what we can, cut off what we can't. Here we go. Put this thing on a diet. It looks a lot different than when we started, and it's going to continue to look different. Over the last 2 days, there's been some talks on whether we should just shorten up a few body panels and not cut the chassis of this car, or if we should extend the chassis of this car. A lot of factors played into that. It's really not that hard to take the cowl, which is right over here, and the fenders, which are right over there, and take 3.5 inches off of them. It's really not that hard at all. But then the dimensionality of the car is just a tiny bit off. I could show you here visualizing it. It's not really obvious that the change is made when you just look at it from afar, but I would know. But the big thing that made us decide that we want to cut and extend the chassis is that it's actually going to be beneficial to us to have this chassis be 3.5 inches better. It means we can put the pedals in a better position, because right now they're kind of limited in their positioning, and it's going to help out with our dashboard. So we are going to go ahead and cut the chassis. Before we do that though, I would like to go ahead and remove these coolant lines. Like we said, it is the next day, so we have some drain pans and everything. We're going to go ahead and jack this thing up and remove the coolant lines from both sides, drain the coolant out of the car, and then I'd like to test fit the side panels once again before we cut the car in half. So here's what we did. We took the reservoirs off for the clutch brake lines that's it. I thought there's gonna be one more, but there's not. And what that's gonna allow us to do is remove that pedal box completely from here. We also unbolted it from the bottom of the car just to get that out of the way. All the other wires that you see here have enough room to be extended 3.5 inches. Oh, hydro e-brake line right there is free to slide back. So I believe that we gotta loosen this guy up right here, disconnect the brake lines on the other side, and then it's cutting time. Oscar's gonna go ahead and do the honors since he's gonna be welding it back up. Let you cut the car in half. Second car this winter that we've cut in half, yeah. My car's cut in half. I use the term car pretty lightly at this point. The chassis for my Mustang chassis is cut in half. Oscar did a great job cutting this baby in half. He is now over there cutting out the aluminum chunks that we're gonna use to weld it back together. This is probably the easiest car in the world to cut in half and lengthen the chassis. So I know when they produced these for the movies, they made a bunch of them at different lengths. It's really just the difference of this thing right here and then the floor pan. So we're all set, we're all ready. He's gonna go ahead and cut out all those blocks and get them in there, and then we're gonna weld this baby back up. 2-day process to cut and weld the car back together. That's pretty quick.
Today's episode is sponsored by Raycon. I've used a bunch of different earbuds over the years, but these Raycon's everyday earbuds, these are the one I actually use every day. They're the most comfortable earbuds I've ever worn. There's no earaches, there's no slipping out of my ear, even if I'm under a car or I'm laying on a pillow. And they look great too. They come in a wide variety of different colors, one to match everybody's style. I went with black because, well, I'm a bit of a mess and black hides the dirt a little bit better. And when I need to focus, I just turn on the active noise cancellation and boom, the chaos just disappears. Whether I'm in the shop or taking calls or just vibing out to music, the audio quality is amazing and the outside world just fades out. And Raycon just dropped their latest model and it's got this awesome new feature called multi-point connectivity. So I can connect to 2 things at once, so I can switch right from my phone to my laptop without missing a beat. And with quick charge, 10 minutes of charging gets me 90 minutes of battery. That saved me more than once. These things follow me wherever I go, from the garage to running out and doing groceries to editing. They're weather resistant, they're sweat resistant, and they just work. And in places where I'm like grocery shopping or around other people, I use the awareness mode feature, and that helps me make sure that I can hear when other things are happening around me. These things are seriously amazing. So if you have not tried Raycon yet, this is the time. It's really simple. There's a link at the top of the description, or you go to buyraycon.com/behindthebuild. I'll put it on the screen for you too right here. Again, that's buyraycon.com/behindthebuild, and you're gonna get 20% off on everything on the entire site for Mother's Day. Huge thanks to Raycon for sponsoring this episode.
Oscar got the car welded back together, so you can see this is how we made our 3 inches here. We got 2 inches here and 1 inch here. We do stuff like this rather than buying one piece because the multiple walls in the middle makes it a little bit stronger. We have more structure there. And we're gonna also cap this and then gusset this, but that's gonna be in the next episode. So the car is welded back together. It is strong. We do have a little bit of finishing work to do though. But before we do that, we need to start making sure we got all the parts for this build. That's a really big thing, is when we're on a tight time schedule, we need need to make sure that we have every single part that we need, and it's time to get all of the body parts out and ready for this thing. So we are going to unbox everything that we got left from over there and kind of start to organize it all around the car, catalog, make sure we have everything. This is pretty cool. I'm gonna get you guys an aerial view in a second here. We're gonna bring that scissor lift over. But I just kind of want to walk through what we got going on here. And it's a really good thing that we laid all these parts out because we identified a couple parts that I forgot to order. Like there's no front lower balance there. Yeah, there's definitely actually more than a few parts that I forgot to order. So I got all of those ordered right now. All right, jumping into the passenger side, there's a little bit more stuff that looks like it's probably gonna be in the way. This is a brand new panel we just unboxed from Nick's garage, so we gotta go ahead and take this stuff off. Luckily, it just unscrews, so that'll be real easy. We're gonna go ahead and mark a center line over the wheel so we know exactly what the center of the wheel is. Unscrew that, that'll get our panel placement horizontally on here. And then width-wise, we're thinking that this may have to go and this may have to move as well. So we'll go ahead and get those out of the way so we can get the panel mock fitted on there. Got the panel mock fitted on here, and we got our center line marked by over there, so that's exactly where it needs to go in relation to the chassis horizontally, this way and that way. It's tilt in and out. We have no idea until we set the roof panel. This stuff is definitely going to be in the way though. We have the coolant reservoir is going to need to move inward, and our fuel filler neck, and unfortunately, big unfortunate, is it looks like that fuse box down there is probably going to be in the way too. So we're going to move what we have to move to be able to snug this thing right up to the chassis. Got to basically close in this gap right here. Uh-oh, starting to look like a car, little bit. Okay, so, yeah, I'm not even going to address the fact that this is in our door. We'll figure that out later. This though is shaping up to look really cool and really good. Now this is set at the width that the SLC chassis was. Based on my measurements, it should be a 1/2 inch wide on the bottom, which makes it a 1/4 inch wide on each side. That may be no big deal. To figure out if it is or not, we need to start placing body panels on here, the supports that go across the roof, the roof panel, the front cowl, the other roof structure support. These types of things will help tell us if our width is acceptable to squeeze out that extra 1/4 inch, or if no, we gotta trim this panel down a little bit more. So we're gonna go ahead and get that in, and we're probably gonna use Cleco pins to temporarily pin things together. If they start popping out, we're just gonna grab the welder and just do a couple tacks, and then we'll plan on undoing those tacks a little bit later on. Mission accomplished. We got this thing, we got the whole side panel slid forward about 1.5 inches, gains us 1.5 inches more cabin entry space by centering it dead center from that point to that point, centering it over the rear hub. So that's centered over the rear wheel now. We are back to figuring out the width of the vehicle and setting the width correctly. Well guys, we ran into what I would consider a mildly concerning problem of measurement. It's not that big of a deal actually. It's just I wasn't expecting this. I pre-measured pretty much all of this stuff out on the computers before we did that. If this is off as bad as I think it is, see how that cowl isn't like matching up with that? If that's off as bad as I think it might be, it probably means that the base 3D model that I was using to measure this entire car and this entire project was wrong. So it might mean that we have to cut a few extra things. Hopefully it doesn't mean any extra compromises. But let me show you what we're looking at and how we're gonna try and figure this out. This piece right up here is a cowl, and it sure does look like this hole supposed to line up with this hole. But you can see how far off it is widthwise, and the other side is like the same, which means that the front upper part of our vehicle is off by like 5 inches or something, which is a whole lot more than I ever thought on the 3D program that it would be off by. So what we're gonna go do is just watch a YouTube video. I'm gonna hope I can find some video of somebody replacing one of these cowls and see if I can see where it lands over here and verify that this goes here. If it does, then we know we gotta start playing the shrinky game. If we had our windshield glass here, that would tell us a lot, but it's in the mail. It should be here like tomorrow, next day. Let's go watch some YouTube and learn something. Here in the Beast for Build Research Laboratory, Fix-It Nick, really nice guy actually, has got nearly 1 million views replacing one of these cowls, and we saw we saw what we did want to see because he made a great video, but we saw what we didn't want to see, which is that our car is not lining up at all. So measurementally, we're back to square one. We got to figure some stuff out. Alright guys, I'm not sure if it's the next day or the day after the next day, but safe to say we've lost some time, but we've done some very important research, and it all turns out to not be good. So basically here's what happened. On my computer I have this thing right here. This was a very expensive 3D model of a 67 Mustang Fastback that I purchased. I did some referencing on it to make sure that things were the right size and everything in the real world, everything that I could reference, and I thought that this model was to scale. At that point, I started playing around with it in a 3D scan of what this thing looked like when we got it. And that's how I came to the conclusion that the 67 Mustang body was going to fit over the SLC chassis. Turns out that my 3D model was actually not a correct reference to the real life measurements of the 67 Mustang body, and it was off by not a small amount, by 5 inches, which is a lot, obviously. And that eventually led us to the problem that we found out when we were trying to test fit the body. So I then called some friends that have Mustang, like TJ Hunt, and he told me that he'd give me some measurements and that he never did. So then I called better friends. I'm just kidding, TJ, I love you. Anyways, Nick from Nick's Garage, the guy that's the dealer for all of these parts that we bought through him, has one of these up on a jig, and he was able to give me exact measurements for this pinch weld right here, this rocker pinch weld at the A pillar, at the B pillar, at different points. You can see we've actually written them down on the car. So from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, and here to here. We know all of these measurements, and the car is not designed to be square. This pinch weld widens out as it gets to the back a little bit. Our SLC chassis is completely square, but that's not really a problem. We can obviously widen it out, but the problem is that this frame rail right up here is 5.5 inches wider than the Mustang wants to be. So that put us in a pretty serious decision mode. There was a couple ways that we could do this. We could start cutting at the Mustang body and shrinking it in. The downer side there would be chopping into the door a lot, and the Mustang door would be really weird, and eventually if we chopped enough of it off, the window wouldn't be able to go up and down, because that's why doors are thick, is because there's a window and a window motor going up and down inside there. And the other negatives is we'd probably have a body where we were kind of stretching it over the chassis. So we decided we didn't want to do that, and we decided that yes, we are on a tight deadline to try and make LS Fest, but it'd be better to build the car properly, build it the right way. We're already building it weirdly by making it mid-engine. If we're going to do this project, we got to do it right, and that means shortening up the SLC chassis. So then we went into kind of engineering mode. Is that possible? Absolutely, it's totally possible to do. We don't really have to change that much stuff. It's just a lot of heavy lifting. It's a lot of heavy work. We basically, I'll show you. So we took the side panel off so you could see. So basically, if you treat this as one big piece coming all through here and up here, treat this as one big piece as well. We're just gonna have to cut it, keep it all structurally intact, cut it there, running back through there, cut it there, and then make another cut to make room for it to scoot in 2.5 inches, and then boom, we move it in 2.5 inches on each side. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna skinny it up. I know you guys are gonna think A, we're crazy, and B, this is probably, I don't know. Just know that this chassis is a really amazing chassis. It's a good thing. It's a really cool piece of engineering. I really want Mustang Fastback like so bad. I did not want to let this, what I would consider a mid-size problem, stop this build in the tracks and then try and find another chassis for the Fastback Mustang. I just don't want to do that. I'm really hyped on this idea. I want the mid-engine Mustang. I want it to be a thing that I own. So we're going to go forward with it. And this won't affect the chassis itself in any negative way, I promise. We're just making it a little bit skinnier, and areas that are not connected to control arms, are not connected to the chassis geometry, the steering geometry, the suspension, nothing, none of this. It's basically just an arbitrary width that they built it to. And if you called them up and said, hey, I needed you to build one that's a little bit skinnier, they wouldn't have a problem doing it. So we're just doing it now after the fact. It's not that big of a deal. So that was a lot of talking. Now it's time to get down to work. We're gonna go ahead and remove the fuel cell for safety because there's gonna be a lot of cutting and a lot of sparks. And then, yeah, we'll get to cutting and making sparks. You did do a lot of welding. All right, guys, the hits just keep coming. So Oscar removed the fuel cell. The fuel is oddly yellow, but that's not the issue that we're worried about. I had noticed that there was a buildup of crud and grime kind of in this corner, back through here and over here, and we couldn't really be sure what it was. Then Oscar got the fuel cell out here and noticed it's leaking from this back corner right here, and then we saw the damage to the fuel cell right here. So the fuel cell is damaged. That's not the type of thing that you try and repair. This thing is just straight up garbage now. We'll salvage some parts off of it, like the lines and then this fitting right here, because we know this is a good fitting for our filler neck. But what this means is we got to get another fuel cell ASAP, like real fast. But this is kind of good because this fuel cell was for the width of the original build of the car, the 60-inch width. Now that we got to go down to 54 and a half, you know, it's actually going to give us the opportunity to maybe cut down to a little bit smaller fuel cell that we won't have to scrunch up. Actually, too, it's going to give us a lot more room back here that we could potentially install things back here if we needed to as well. Or for our seat to recline. Actually, there's a lot of positives here, Oscar. Okay, Oscar, so I will be in charge of ordering a new fuel cell. So while Oscar's doing this, I'm over here wiring the burnt con. We decided to rewire and new ECU the entire car. That will be in an episode that we're gonna film at LS Fest, showing you guys all the upgrades that we did, and then obviously driving. We're hoping to drag race that baby and get kicked off the track with it. Anywho, I will get a new fuel cell ordered that will fit in there, and we'll work with all our lines and the fuel center unit that I just bought and all that good stuff. I think we'll leave this overnight to fume out. Yep. And first thing tomorrow, are we ready to start cutting?
I think so.
I think so.
Remove the cage and then start cutting.
Oh yeah, we'll unbolt this and then start cutting. Rear main bar and rear supports that went into this pickup point right here are off of the car. Not to say that they won't come back on. We may remake it or we may utilize that part. We're not really sure. Next, we got to take off this dash bar because width-wise it is getting in our way. So we got to unbolt it from right here and then unbolt it from the car over here and then take that off and see if we're good to start cutting. This thing looks naked now. There we go, we got the dash bar out. It's like any good project. Got to tear it all the way down before before you build it back up. That's how they did the Mona Lisa. Draw lines once, cut twice. Let's do this. Tell which side's the skinny side? All right, so Oscar cut the car a long ways twice, took out our gap, took out our extra width that we had, got the side panel all straightened back up, sanded down. We welded in a fish plate right here to help reinforce the work that we did with the extension previously. It's something we're going to do on the other side as well. You got a new gusset right here, also making it stronger, and then it is tacked back in. So now this is Mustang width tacked back in. You can see what we're going to be doing with the rear section here, how these things are going to get refit once we're ready, and they're going to go in like that. Bottom one's going to come in too. And we should be good. In theory, this should be no different than the way that they built it from factory. It's just all welded aluminum pieces. And this is a lot of work to make it right, but hey, what's the point of building it if we're not gonna build it right? So every time I post videos like this where stuff goes completely sideways, the audience is usually pretty torn. Half the people just wanna say negative stuff, oh, you shouldn't have done this is a bad idea, etc. And the other half of people say, thanks for showing and being honest what happens when things go wrong. Because, you know, at home on other people's projects, things often go wrong too. And we like to show the reality of like how we problem solve, how we get through these problems. And if for nothing else, just show that, you know, mistakes happen to everybody. We are not professional car builders. This isn't for some client. We are just guys having fun, and you know, sometimes things go sideways, but luckily this is a type of thing that went sideways, but it's fixable. So next time I'll be much more careful with my 3D models before I virtually build a car, make sure my measurements are more intact. But this is, I would say, a medium-sized problem, because like I always talk about, sometimes when you have to fix a large problem, there are compromises that have to be made. Other than the elbow grease that goes into doing this, we don't have to have any other compromises. It's actually going to make the whole thing better in every single way. Oscar got the side panel welded back on. These welds look phenomenal. I'm really happy. This is all coming out of our Harbor Freight Vulcan Megmax welder. So we're having a few little troubles before, and then we ran our own 220 outlet in the shop. So I don't know if we ever talked about that, but shop, weirdly enough, has a bunch of, what is that, 3-phase 440?
Yeah, 480.
480, 3-phase 480 plugs. That's like what those are. And they had no 220. So we figured out a safe, like legitimate way to wire in a 220. And then now the welder with the spool gun is super happy, running very well, and made this thing a breeze for Oscar. I mean, I think, what, you did this in like 30 minutes or less. Yeah, like, yeah, it was really quick to weld this whole side panel on. So that was really cool. Now Oscar's moving on to these side pieces. We're gonna have to modify these a little bit, because they're coming in, this is backwards. They're coming in at a little bit more of a steep angle. So this is gonna get modified, sanded down, and then welded back into the place where it originally was. This one, you can see, still needs to be cut off and then modified and welded back in too. And while we're there, we'll clean off all the gasoline and stuff like that. Oh yeah, we haven't updated people on the whole gas situation. All right, so Oscar's gonna keep welding. I'm over here wiring, and I'm just still wiring. I thought it was gonna take a day. I'm on day 4. Oscar just wrapped up these lower reinforcements, frame reinforcements to the chassis. So that is looking great. That is one side fully completed. Now we got to test some stuff out because the width of the vehicle just changed, which means our design's changed. To be quite honest with you guys, I was planning on a pretty wide body for the design of this vehicle, and I've been kind of teetering on the design that I want to do and my ideas and stuff like that. So what I'd like to do now is mock up another side panel, another rear quarter panel, see how wide it is in comparison to our hub faces, and see, does this thing have to be wide body, or maybe could it not be? So let's start test fitting some stuff out, learn a little bit more about the dimensions. This is pretty cool. This half of the car, this entire half of the car, exact Mustang dimensions right now. It was too close to tell. So without having the middle like roof parts and the front parts and the cowl and everything to help us know exactly how much tilt, it's like one way you have it set up and it looks like, yeah, we could potentially run this without a wide body, and then the other way is like, no, there's definitely not going to happen. If I had to guess right now, I'd say we probably still have to wide body this thing, but well, we're going to find out later in this episode because we will have the body mock fit on here, and then we'll know for sure what we can get away with and what we can't. So till then, Oscar has to continue cutting, cut this car in half 2 more times, and then we'll be ready to weld it back together. For the last time we'll have to weld this car back together, Oscar. Getting very close to body placement time. Man, am I excited. This looks so good. Oscar did a great job as usual. I'm really excited by this. We test fit some seats with the new fuel cell design and stuff, and it's all looking really good. I'm going to talk about the fuel cell placement. A lot of people getting a lot of comments about putting it up front. I mentioned it in the beginning of this episode. I think the days are kind of mixing together now. I'm losing my mind a little bit, but we can't, I'll talk about it later. Anyways, Oscar's just got the 2 rear supports supporting the frame to the outer corner of the frame, and get those trimmed up, angled back correctly, welded in the car. Then we get to start putting some Mustang parts on here. All right, so the next move is the thing that we tried to do yesterday, which is putting the sides on and then figuring out how much our hubs maybe stick out from the sides or stay within the sides, or they flush, are they out, all that stuff. That way we can get our wheels and tires ordered, figured out, all that good stuff. So we're gonna throw some side panels on. We have to have, so we'll do the side panels on each side. The one with the over fender will actually be on, and then roof supports. And should we do roof panel? Let's just do roof supports. Cowl, maybe cowl. Yeah, cowl's a really good idea. This is going to be exciting. Things are actually going to fit. Yes. Okay. We've got enough room. We figured that out. We're actually, so this is kind of weird. We're a little too narrow at the top, and that is because on both sides it's like hanging out way too much. And that's because, I think I mentioned this, it's more narrow in the front than it is at the back. And right now we're kind of following the square. So we're gonna have to kick these guys out more, while keeping the front there. I think the only way that we can do that, I don't think Clecos are going to be able to hold this whole car body together, so I think we're actually going to start laying in some tack welds. So we're going to use the cowl as a guide piece because it has exact alignment holes. We're going to get the cowl where we like it, tack it in, and then start moving backwards and just start kind of tacking stuff, knowing that we're going to cut the tacks off later. So we're going to weld the body together temporarily. Here we go. Okay guys, we got the upper cowl test fit on there. It test fit well, but then the lower cowl is hitting our steering shaft, so steering input shaft. So we're gonna go ahead and trim out this pretty large section here so we can get the lower cowl in, because it really helps set the space for the upper cowl. And this is important. We don't want to get this wrong. So we're going to go ahead and cut that square out real quick. In the long run, this will probably be a trimmed down version of what it usually is. Don't get too excited, guys. Yes, the body goes on fast, but this is like the difference between test fitting a body kit and then actually, sending it to a body shop and having it fully installed. The full installation part takes a lot of time. Just throwing stuff in its place where it goes can happen really quickly. But this is very exciting. This is showing us that right now that our quarter panel is not super sunk in over here. It's showing us a lot of good things. Everything is lining up very well. Panels are lining up extremely well. And it's showing us a lot of really good things on the chassis. It's got me really excited. So what we need to do now is we've got this quarter panel Clecoed on. I need to stop stepping on those brake lines, or they're going to be toast. We need to come over to this side, get the other quarter panel Clecoed on, and then we will introduce the rear taillight panel that goes right through here. It's something we just got in a shipment, and once we Cleco that in, that'll set our rear width. From there, we just center these panels on the car, make sure it's all centered, and then we can actually say definitively, can we fit a wheel and tire combo in here? Does it have to be wide body, etc., etc. We're gonna learn our limitations. Right now though, I mean, gosh, this is looking like we might not have to modify the doors at all, which would be really cool. So yeah, rear quarter panel, tail panel. This is my favorite car to assemble. It just looks better and better every panel you put on. So we got the rear tail panel in here. That sets our overall width. Now what these guys are doing is they both have a tape measure on each side, and we're kind of pushing the body left and right until it's centered over the chassis. So we mentioned before how the body it narrows down and our chassis is square. We talked about that earlier. So this is all following the game plan that we've already kind of learned. And honestly, I mean, if all the panels fit up nicely, who really cares? The cool thing is, as we push this out more, the door gets closer and closer to being able to shut without running into our chassis. Are we looking centered?
Looks pretty good, yeah.
Okay, Kyle's gonna do the last little measurement.
Yeah, it's very similar to my side.
Okay. So the big question is, do we have to wide body this car, or can we get away with not wide bodying it? I want to know before we start ever cutting in any body panels or anything, is it even an option to leave it stock bodied or with just a mild flare, or do we got to go all out? My original design for this car was to be very wide bodied, but I could be convinced to go the other way if we can get a wheel and tire to fit in here, but let's just find out. That's bad news for team non-wide body. That wheel did not even get close. It stuck out past the fender couple, like an inch and a half. How much was that? Inch and a half, 2 inches? It was like 2 inches. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's deceiving. It really looks like you could fit a wheel in there, but you probably can't. We're gonna go ahead and test fit a wheel and tire on the front with the front fender and see if that's any better. All right, we used all of our doctorates added up in our measuremental mathematical sized systems and found out exactly where this fender goes in space, which is right there. And yeah, it's the same story. Unfortunately, this one sticks out a little bit less because this is a smaller wheel with even higher offset, but it doesn't even clear the brake caliper. So we thought we could figure that problem out later with sandpaper. But anyways, yeah, just to show you, the wheels and tires stick out more. So you know, if you guys see in the comments and you guys see, oh, you should have not wide bodied it and stuff, yeah, it wasn't an option. It never was supposed to be an option. When I originally designed this car, I designed it with a very wide body in mind, and it'd be like, it's gonna look somewhat like, if we do it right, maybe Ken Block's Hoonicorn's cousin or something. Just the fastback version, the Driving Miss Daisy version, the classy version. This is a classic horn. Class of horn? Horn of class. All right. We should do some building now. All right, a couple minutes have gone by. I just hit up some of our sponsors. We got Koenig wheels coming in for the drifty wheels. We're gonna be running these wheels as the main thing, but then we also needed tires. So I hit up our boys at Nitto Tires and we got tires on the way. So we're all good there. And I got wheels and tires for the single seater, which, you know, just imagine it parked right there. Wow, that's a loud forklift. And we'll build it. Yes, that's gonna happen. Next up, roll cage. We gotta get the roll cage going. I'm gonna keep playing around with body stuff, but Oscar is starting on the roll cage. We're working on the rear main hoop, so he's got our bender out here. And the rear main on this vehicle, usually it's gonna go from your floorboards, right? Well, that's not the strongest place in this vehicle. These chassis rails where they were mounted last time are definitely the strongest spot. You can imagine how easy it'd be to punch through an aluminum floorboard. So it gets bolted onto the bracket here. We're gonna have a slight angle at it to maximize cabin space. And we're gonna go up and then that way and then back down, and then it'll get supported back there. We're just copying what the guys at SLC do for their safety stuff as well, just with a little bit more lean. All right, guys, Oscar's got the rear main hoop in. We've got it on a 10-degree tilt, which last time we checked with the different racing bodies, that's within allowances. Doesn't really matter for this car. It's not a purpose-built race car, but we want to build it as safely as we can. To the 10-degree tilt, and then we really quickly go straight from here back to the frame for supports to make it really, really nice and strong, really triangulating that area of the car. So we got that there. And we test fit a seat in here along with the dash. So I got the dash, and then I went ahead and bought the dash pad. I found out this is a thing for Mustang dashes. Let me put the seat in here and show you the seating position. With the back of the seat right up against the fuel cell area, it's not even mine the steering wheel for now. I'm not getting into this car very easily. Once I'm in here, my legs have plenty of room, because remember we lengthened this chassis and everything. My legs have plenty of room to the pedals, but as you can see, there's two issues here. I'm sitting way too low. My eye line is only like 3 inches over the dash. I have a foot of headroom here, and then there's absolutely no room for the steering wheel to go, so I'm too low. So obviously, like leaning backwards more is possible, but that only makes you more low. This is quite cozy, but we're not here to nap, we're here to drive. So a lot of you guys have mentioned about removing the rear fuel cell and placing it up front. So now it's time to talk about why it can't go up front. There's a few cars on the market that do have a fuel cell up front, Porsche's being a key one of them. They have very well engineered safety structures that come off that house the whole shebang, the whole fuel tank and fuel cell and everything like that. It's a crumple zone that's meant to go, and it probably, I'm sure, stops before the fuel cell. Most cars, just so you know, fuel cell, if you have 2 rows of seats, like if you have back seats, fuel cell is going to be underneath your back seats, dead set in the middle, kind of like over there. This car, being that it is a weird race car chassis, not saying that's a bad thing, I really love this chassis, but it's 1/4 inch solid aluminum chassis front bulkhead. Let's call this area this. This is thick stuff. In the event of a crash, I don't expect that would crumple very well at all. This car doesn't really have a crumple zone. It also doesn't have built-in frame rail pickup points anywhere along this thing, so you can see where when they were doing the movie, guys, they just threw like a nut and bolt through here. But look, I mean, I'm moving this around with my hand. Even the suspension is just a tiny little bolt that's thrown through there into the chassis. So what happens is if we just do some quick bolt-on, bolt-up plates into this, and we throw some bars over here and we put a fuel cell in the middle, the most likely thing that would happen in the event of a front-end accident is those rails are going to shear off to the side. They're going to go kablamo, or they'll fold sideways one way or another, and we wouldn't have a really good crash structure that would absorb a lot of impact, and then that fuel cell would get smooshed at high speed, smoosh. Fuel is going to go up that way everywhere around the vehicle and probably catch on fire, because keep in mind the other car that would probably be hitting you in a head-on has a running engine too. There's a lot of heat and it's going to cause a fire most likely. Also, oftentimes in wrecks, there's sparks. So yeah, talking about instant fireball in the event of a wreck. When you do a DIY front mount fuel cell, it's basically a Pinto in reverse. It's just not a smart idea. So with all that being said, we're not going to put the fuel cell up front. We are going to build the best crash structure we know how, using best practices that we've seen on race car builds and stuff like that. Other thing worth pointing we should point out, not point in. I'm losing it, guys. Worth pointing out, older car panels like what we're using are much thicker gauge steel than the other one. So fender for fender, this one weighs about 5 to 10 times more than a modern fender. So they do act as more of a crumple zone and a crash zone for low speed, mid speed actions. They will do some absorption. Anyways, let's talk about fuel cells. So moving backwards, we said a couple of things about the seat. It needs to go up, that's for sure. I need to get the midsection of my body back. My legs have tons of room, but I need to get my chest back so my arms can go out a little bit to grab onto that steering wheel. So the seat needs to go about where it is right here. We have 2 fuel cells laying around in the shop here. This guy right there is a 15-gallon one. This one's a 5-gallon one. We have looked all over the back of this thing to find where we can do 2 things. 1, place it safely, and 2, run the filler neck to the cool spot, which is right back here. Can't fit it anywhere without really ruining the engine bay view. Yes, we could slam it right there. Is that a fighter jet in the background? Sorry, there's a F-18 taking off behind us. So anyways, we could put it right there, but it would really make the view of the engine bay kind of a lot less cool. Plus the ugly ass filler neck coming off of it just wasn't what we wanted to do. So that brought us back into here, the safest place, what I would consider the optimal place for the placement of the fuel cell. And we got some room back here. Oscar and I measured it out, and putting the seat in just the overall optimal spot and everything like that, we would want to build a cell, if we could build it on our own, that would be, oh, see, hit the roof, the full width of the car. So we'd run the full width of the car. We'd put a hole in it to run the cabling through, because we have to run the shifter cables through. And we'd want it to go up as high as we could, and we'd make it pretty narrow. So we measured all that stuff out. We did some math. We found that it has a 2,200 cubic inch surface if we do that, area. We divided that up into gallons, and it would fill about 19.6 gallons. So, wait, did I say 19? 9.6 gallons, making it a 10-gallon tank, which is fine for a vehicle like this. A 10-gallon fuel cell is cool. So that is the game plan. We are going to build our own fuel cell. We just figured all of that out in the middle of that long rant. I literally had to pause several times filming and figure out how the hell we're gonna do this thing. Not what we expected to be doing at all in this build, guys, but we overcome these situations. And again, what compromises are we making here? It takes us a little bit of time to build a fuel cell. Other than that, we're good. Right, we made some more space here. You can see we cut this through here, and then Oscar welded all the way through that seam. Eventually, we'll cap these little triangles, but we're a little worried about time right now, so we're not doing any cosmetic work right now that we don't have to. So now it's time to get our seat in here. We're gonna go 1 inch off of this because we have a seat rail, so the seat can slide forwards and backwards. So we'll probably be 1 inch off of this, and then that will tell us where we can put our seat belt bar back here, because those have to be, for the harness, has to be at a downward angle from the harness openings inside your seat, if that makes sense, or your shoulders, whatever's higher. So we're gonna go ahead and get our seats mocked up in here, show you guys the positioning a little bit, and start to figure out where we want to put our harness bar. All right, guys, I think we can say we have fixed the seating position. So let's just talk about a few things. There have been so many comments on the last episode, I just want to address this. Steering wheel position, great. Leg room, I probably need to go forward a little bit to get to the pedals. I have lots of leg room. I have extra leg room. We have room to lean here and slide the seat forward and backwards, so that's great. Getting in and out of the vehicle, this leg is a little tight, reminds me of like my Lotus. It's just a little tight. And then this is just tacked in, so I don't want to put a ton of weight on it, but it's really easy to get in and out of the car. So yes, there is this bulkhead here, and we're gonna have to build firewall into the engine bay, and it looks a little weird, but it just looks a little weird. Functionality wise, it's still really easy to get in and out of the car. So I'd say that's a small compromise to having our mid-engine Mustang. So now we've got our seat in here. I don't want to unveil the seats yet, so we'll keep them covered. And our harness bar is going to go pretty low. It's going to go right about down here. So we're going to set our level for our harness bar, mock fit our dash, and figure out where we want to put our dash bar. Mom told me I'm not allowed to build any more cars without windshield wipers. So we have windshield wipers. So we just spent way too much time figuring out dash bar positioning along with steering shaft input, everything, and how that's all gonna clear the windshield wiper mechanism. But we got it all in there. It's all gonna work. It's gonna be pretty cool. Bottom of the windshield wiper bracket welds to the dash bar. Upper bolts into the standard spot. You can see the windshield wiper arms and controller arms are all in there right now. It's pretty cool actually. So we know where everything's gonna go. We're actually putting the dash bar basically back where it used to be. We're gonna kind of go right over this guy. So we will either modify the old dash bar or make a new one real quick. Dash bar is still a work in progress. There's a lot of drilling. There's a solid aluminum block in here, and it's a long story. Anyways, almost done with the dash bar. Over here, Oscar has mocked up a few more bars. We're trying to get most of at least the rear structure of the car in place, like where we're gonna mount the body to and other things like that. That way, when we take the body off, we'll know exactly where it goes back on, because it's all square right now. So this is my genius idea of having the rear rail support. So we're gonna eventually weld this body into here. There, and then what we're going to be able to do is build kind of a shelf off of here, and in the long run, hopefully before LS Fest, we're going to be able to make our rear glass detachable, more like a hatch. It'll bolt in and out, and then we can pull the rear glass out to service the car. The idea is this rear panel right here, the trunk lid, and that rear glass all could be removed. If you wanted to go in and service your engine bay and work in here at all, you'd have a nice opening without having to take the body off. We are also engineering this thing so you could unbolt the body and roll cage from the chassis and pull it all off. But to do that, there'd be a lot of firewall removal and wire removal, so it's a longer process. It's not something you'd want to do just for fun. So hopefully the rear glass as a hatch will be enough. So with that being said, we've got those two following these long straights here. That's in. Now we're working on rear bumper. Rear bumper is going to be real simple. We're just coming off of here. We're going to here, This is where the stock rear bumper bolts in. So this is going to be like a bash bar. We're going to have a double bumper basically. We're going to have this with a piece of roll cage tubing right behind it that it's bolted into. So Oscar's going to start working on sending those bars out, and then there's going to be supports from the lower, then it's going to tie into here, and then we're going to connect everything up to each other eventually. Probably not before we pull the body off though. All right, guys, so we got the dash bar in here. Welded out these plates, everything's tacked, it's not fully welded out. So the dash bar goes across here. That's going to tie into a bunch of stuff coming off of the front for now. Now the lower cowl has been trimmed. We tested the windshield wiper system. That's all good, that's all going to fit. And then you probably saw me cutting out of steel some inlay pieces. Basically what we're going to be doing is at a point like right about here, we're going to extend the lower cowl to meet up with the dash bar. I can't start welding and sealing all that up yet until the dash bar is fully welded out. And at some point on this build, there would be a point where we say, okay, as of right now, we're good to go to start welding the body to the cage. Once we do that, if the body needs to come off of the vehicle, the body and the cage come off the vehicle all at once. And that's just how it is. So we're not quite there yet. We're still planning on removing the body to do the full weld out of the cage. So that's where that sits. And my plan now is to continue working, building off of this front end so we can eventually have some front end supports out here. You can see I prepped some plates that are gonna go here to mount some standoffs. Over here, Oscar's been doing his thing, and man, do we have a cool structure back here. This is our rear bumper / rear reinforcement area. So we got just kind of a traditional style rear bumper bash bar coming back here. Double reinforced coming off of the chassis frame with these rails right here. Everything is all nice and square, and then you've seen our support rails that are going to support our rear glass, and then also the body's going to weld onto these support rails right here to keep our body all nice and square and everything. Now this is just really cool. It looks really awesome, and I'm super happy with the way that it's coming out. So Oscar has just 2 bars left to go, and then I think we're probably looking at removing the body. But anyways, the bars, we gotta chop these at the right length, and then the bars come from here and tie in right down to here on both sides. Oscar's rear supports are in for these, I don't know what we're going to call them, upper frame rail bars. Rear supports are in. Eventually a tube will run across here, and that is going to be what holds our trunk hinges. Trunk hinges for Mustang are pretty high-powered, springy boys. Here they are right here. And you gotta really, it's a heavy duty mounting point because the trunk weighs a lot, the trunk lid weighs a lot, and those things are pretty springy. So we'll do one more crossbar that's gonna run across there, and then I believe that is it as far as actual tubular structure that's gonna go in the back. But we don't wanna do that too early until we can test fit our trunk and everything else like that. Up front, I've got the bars cut and coped for the offshoots. This one has a bend in it, as you probably saw me do on the time lapse. So we're going this way, and then we're paralleling the this line in the bulkhead. Really doesn't matter where these go. They just need to get out there so we can start building structure off of them. They're like arbitrary frame rails because you don't have an engine out there. So now what we need to do is pull the body off. Pulling the body off is going to give Oscar room to fully weld out the cage points, and then also make it a lot easier to build these rear supports. So what you're going to see us do now is we're going to pull the body off, build a couple more supports into the system. Seat belt bar, or the harness bar that goes behind the seat, the rear supports that that come off of the rear main hoop, and then we'll get these front ones installed as well. What a beautiful cage we have built. Front supports are in. That's all looking good. Oscar got his the rear downshoots over here. We got the harness bar in. I mean, we're rocking and rolling. The one little section we forgot to do was right here. I'm not really comfortable just winging that without the body on, because if we get in the wrong spot on those, we're gonna just have to punch another hole through our dash, which wouldn't be cool, right? Let's do the best way we can. So there will be a connection between here and there eventually. So Oscar is gonna start by fully welding out the cage here. I'm gonna start by making a checklist, and then I'll assign kind of amounts of time each item on the checklist, and then we'll see how many of those things we get to do before we have to leave for LS Fest in 5 days. Oscar's got the cage all welded up. The exo cage is welded up. It looks phenomenal. I'm stoked on this. I just noticed these guys need a little bit of cleanup. We got to do a little bit of rust removal and kind of remove this area off that we cut. So I will work on that. I've been working on the cooling system. I built the first to-do list for this vehicle, all the stuff left that I want to do before LS Fest. And it's like 110 hours. And between the three of us, we have 150 hours of working time if we don't work through the night. If we start working through the night, man, the possibilities are endless. We got like 300 hours in us. I'm kidding. That won't happen on this one. That's not gonna happen. Anyways, what Oscar's gonna do, I'll show you, is start to get our electrical system back in its place. So the old fuse box and the stock ECU, all that stuff mounted right there. Everything's still there for it. It's just got to go back in. What we're going to be moving towards is two things. One is getting the body on, and the other is getting this car running again. Oscar wants to get the car running before we weld the body on, which is a very, very smart idea. Got the electrical remounted, ECUs mounted, OBD2 port. It's kind of cool. This car has an OBD2 port. The fuse box and the main power lug running up front. We're not sure if we're going to run the battery over into the front or if we're going to run a battery box, but we're going to have a firewall between the battery and the cabin where the driver is, or else we won't pass tech for anything at LS Fest, most likely. So I was thinking about what we need to do before we put the body on for the last time, and a big one is going to be to paint all of the new tubing that we put in. So our roll cage, all this front dash support and all this support and all that, anything that could get covered by a body panel, it needs a good coat of paint on it so it won't start rusting. When I had originally dreamed up this build, I expected at this stage right here we would send this car to the paint booth right now and paint all the cage stuff up, but I don't think that's what I would want to do anyways. I'm kind of changing my mind now that I'm building, because there's a lot of welding from the cage to the car. So if you put some nice, like super fancy glossy paint on there, it would just get all burned up. So I think it's gonna be better to paint it all afterwards, and kind of like in 2 stages, where I'll mask off and paint the cage, and then I'll make a hard line, and then I'll paint the interior of the body if it's not covered by fabrics and stuff like that. So it'll look good in the long run, but for now we just got to get it all protected, because this steel out in the elements and stuff will rust really fast, and then I'll be doing rust removal on everything. So we're gonna use Steel It. That's our #1 go-to thing. It is waterproof, so it's better than primer. It's not porous, it won't soak up water. It's weld through, and it's corrosion resistant. So it'll do all the jobs. It's pretty cool stuff. Thanks to Steel It for sending us a ton of it. Let's get to painting. All the tubing is sprayed up and black, looking fantastic. We finished routing the brake lines. All the brake lines are rerouted and pinned down to the side of the frame. So we're gonna move into 2 different things now. I'm gonna move into the cooling system, finishing out the cooling system and the modifications that need to be made because now the car is skinnier. We need to fit it back up to the car. So I'll be working with some aluminum tubing and getting that done. Oscar's gonna move into the fuel cell. The fuel cell is a custom one that we're building. So basically to start, you just build a big aluminum box that is definitely sealed up very, very well. There's going to be fittings in different places for like a fuel filler neck. Then we got the feed and the return lines and other things like that. The fuel cell is going to run the whole width of the vehicle here. It's going to be about 4 inches deep and I think about 11 inches tall. It should tuck right in underneath this guy right here. So we're both got a lot of work to do. We're going to jump into it. She's got a couple fittings on, running the leak down test right now, making sure it's not going to leak. I am going to work on the front support. So these guys need to get replaced with something more heavy duty, a better bracket that's a lot more solid, wraps all the way around the 90-degree angle and comes out this way. So I'm going to work on building those brackets, getting that tube cut and welded on. Getting super close with this fuel cell, guys. So if you remember, our old fuel cell had a hole going through the middle of it. Ours is gonna they didn't have any thinner wall material down at metal supermarkets. So anyways, this is gonna shoot through here, and that's where we run things like our shifter cables and the electrical cables that need to go from the engine harness up front. So it's like a sideways through hole through our fuel cell. Everything else on this fuel cell is done. All the fittings are welded on, the fuel filler neck is welded on, that's all good. In the front here, it doesn't look like it's done, but it's basically done. The lower supports need to get tacked on, but that's a 2-person job and we haven't had enough people around. Once those get they're gonna get fully welded on, and then we bolt everything back up, and now we have new beefier plates that have 4 bolts in them instead of 1, and they won't budge. Also, then I can connect the lower to the upper and it'll make everything nice and strong. I've moved on to the firewall. Firewalls are gonna be a really big thing in this project. It's very important that your driver cabin is separated from 2 things, the fuel cell and then the whole engine compartment. Well, 3 things actually, and your battery cannot be within your driver's compartment. So we're using a battery box for the battery, firewalls for the engine and fuel cell. So I'm working on our first firewall, which is going to be the rear kind of main firewall that's connecting up to our thing here. So it's going to be a lot of just trimming, cardboard aided design, and then I'll cut it out of steel. Look at that, guys. We've got a fuel cell. Oscar finished up the fuel cell, welded tabs onto it, and mounted it into the vehicle. It's pretty trick looking. So that holds 10 whole gallons, which is awesome. We've got our feed to our surge tank that goes down right there. And then when we come on the other side, we have our vent line, our fuel fill line, our return line is over there, up high. Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. Gives us more room for the seat. We still need to build a firewall now in between this and the cabin. Always have to have firewalls in between your fuel cell. But this is sweet. It was a good solution. So our seat's going to go basically right in front of that. We've got all the angle that we need to be able to lean back and everything. Looking pretty good. You're also going to notice that we've got these little tabs on our harness bar. These are where our harness bolt in. They're very hot right now, so I can't touch them. And then you probably saw me building out the firewall. We have the firewall all done. I'm just about to go clean it and paint it. That's kind of like our little painting corner over there. I'm going to paint it the same color as the cage with the steel at black, and then that will get welded in on top of this rail right here, closing that whole section out. Then all we have to do is connect this to the body of the car out here, and that finalizes the firewall. That will be a very, very challenging bit, but that's what we do. Oscar's got the fuel system buttoned up, firewall is being painted. It's time to test fire this car. We haven't started it up since we disassembled it and cut it in half 5 different times. So we're gonna go ahead and throw the power on, and then we're gonna fill our new fuel cell with some premium gasoline, and we'll try and fire it up and see how it does. Oscar's gonna do the honors. We had a small issue when we attached the battery. The starter started going, and if you did that, it normally means that somehow you're sending power to the starter signal wire. On ours, the back of the starter, the signal wire, and then the actual power lug got connected. We've reconfigured that so that won't happen again, hopefully. And Oscar's gonna go ahead and prime the system. Seems primed. Oh yeah, brand new fuel system. Probably prime it a couple times. It doesn't want to prime anymore.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful.
How long do you want to run it?
Hey, we don't need to run it long. I think that's good.
Awesome.
Sounds so good, man. Very nice and smooth. Cool. I bet it has a fuel pressure sensor going to the stock ECU, so it probably primes until it reads the fuel pressure at once, and then it won't reprime. That's awesome. It's back and running with its new changed dimensions. That means we can start to slap the body on there. Let's get the side panels, a roof panel. Let's get those things going. Cool, Coolant lines are ran through the side panels. Body is on. Well, the side paneling is on. Roof is on. Nothing's welded down yet. We're gonna go ahead and throw in our dash, throw in our lower cowl, throw in our upper cowl, trim it to make sure it fits over these bars, and then we're gonna use that to start fitting our fenders and our hood. We gotta build some mounts. The dash, lower cowl, upper cowl, all on, clearing our new structural support. So that's cool. We realized we can't build out the front end until we have doors on the car. Now we have some temporary doors. Some of you guys may have seen this coming. I'm stealing the doors off of Oscar's Mustang because they're really good quality. And Oscar's Mustang is a patina Mustang, so I went searching for some doors, and I got some doors with some really good patina on them. We got this baby here. It's a complete door. It's got a lot of character to it, and then there's another complete door over there. But for now, we're gonna be using these to test fit onto the car. We got some new hinges for them. Anyways, yes, we're gonna get these on the car, side panels on the car, rear bumper on the car. Might even weld some stuff together, who knows? Let's get it all on. Oh man, this is exciting. This looks so good. All right, so we got doors on. These are just, you know, test fit temporary doors. We didn't even put the strikers in. You can see though that the door clears. I got brand new hinges there. A little hard. The door clears our our bulkhead, our body, just the right amount. It's really easy to get in and out of the car. A lot of people were saying to do suicide doors. I think that would be super awesome. The problem is these doors weigh a gajillion pounds, and this is the only material that you'd have to build off of. And this is just sheet too. So it's kind of too thin. This all up front is built out of so much thicker metal to be able to support the weight of the doors. So that's pretty awesome. Guys, we are dyno tuning the... That wasn't us, that was our neighbor deciding to act up. Anyways, we are dyno tuning the Burntacon. It's really exciting. It's our dyno got moved into our shop, and we're doing a dyno pulls in our own shop for the first time. It's just so cool. So that is happening. So this thing will be ready to drag race at LS Fest West. That's gonna be really, really loud. We're not gonna be able to talk for a while, so Oscar and I are just gonna chill out in the front. We're gonna sesh out, we're gonna zone out, and get the vibes right, and we're gonna build a front end on this car. Once we start getting some stuff in place and the dyno tuning session is over, we will kind of walk through however we did what we did. The driver's side fender is mock fit. The biggest thing with how we figure out where these fenders go into space is following body lines. So that was very important to get the door on here and get it on the right spot. And then the body lines kind of, you know, flow, and you want the body line to be exact, and then the lines match up with the cowl. And we've decided to kind of fit hood last. So they just eyeballed it out to make sure it all looks right. The way that we like to do fenders when we're going to do fenders on a custom car build like this is get a piece of flat bar that goes under the fender railing, and then Oscar drilled a bunch of holes, and we threw nuts and bolts through every mounting hole that Ford provides, and then we weld supports onto the bottom of that flat bar. So it's like, this is our bar that'll stay on the car, and we'll work around there. So these are just temporarily tacked in supports, but they're holding our fender where it needs to be. So now we're going through the same process on the passenger side fender. Once we get that in there and looking good, we will test fit the hood and make sure our width is what we want to see, and it's all happy too. 2 fenders on, temporarily on. So these rods are just like 1/2-inch steel that we used for the mock-up. Well, they'll be getting cut off and then re-welded back on probably a few times in this process. And we're just working on getting everything square, everything set right. So we have been measuring the hood a bunch. Where's the hood? Right there. We've been measuring the hood a bunch, the width, and then measuring our width here, and getting that all set correctly. And we think we got a big enough opening to test fit the hood in here, so we'll be placing the hood, trying to see what's happy, what's square. Everything's kind of based off the cowl, which is based off the rest of the car, so that works well. And then we'll be cutting these tacks and moving and adjusting based on how that looks. Our hood doesn't exactly fit right. Mistakes were made, guys. There are 2 options going into this. One is pretend that I knew exactly all along that this Shelby style hood is like 3 inches longer and we didn't have the right headlight buckets. Or just be honest. I didn't know what was going on, but I think this is a really, really happy surprise because it gives us an opportunity to do some creative stuff here, make this car our own a little bit. So you can see how the hood sticks out extra from the headlight bucket right now. That is kind of the sweet spot where I want to test it out, test the look, and that's with it overlapping our cowl back here by a solid inch. Now, we can trim this hood, no problem. That's an easy trim, and it won't affect anything. So we can always trim it at whatever width we want. We can snug it up if we want or whatever. So what I want to test is with it overhanging by this 1.5 inches, I want to build a little extension, a little bucket extension that kind of starts here and comes out to here and makes a nice gradual line, and kind of see how that would look. So Oscar's got the cardboard ready, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and mock this up and just see if this is something we like. And then if not, we can, if you bring this edge back to this edge, it looks really cool anyway, so that's not a problem. But I want to try out a little bit of a extension on our headlight bucket. Totally did this on purpose, knew what I was doing right from the beginning. Just had to get a little extra hood. I told you, Oscar, we need a little extra hood so we can have it hang over. And then, no, this looks awesome. I love the way that this looks. We're gonna build this piece out of aluminum. Short term, probably LS Fest short term. I think we're probably just gonna rivet it on here because it's gonna look awesome. And then obviously I'm gonna fiberglass that all in and mold it. We're gonna mold it down to this body line right here. Be our own little personal touch to just add to this front end area a little bit. I'm in love with the way that that looks. So we're gonna have to trim the back of the hood to make it fit, but that's no problem. We can make a really easy trim by following the cowl line. Yes, we took a problem, we took a mistake, turned it into a positive. I'm very, very happy. Made a nice little BIFB customization on here. We got the hood trimmed up. The rear of the hood is all trimmed up, looking really, really good. We test fit it. Looks awesome inside the car. And then we've got our 1-inch tubular supports now. Those are just tack welded in case we need to make any modifications. Now we're looking at the lower level. The front valance needs to go in and it connects up with these headlight buckets. So we got to go ahead and trim these tubes back a little bit. We like to just leave them long, you know, in case, well, whatever, because we don't know the exact length of the vehicle. And then we trim them back as we see fit. So we'll probably just trim these lowers right now and start test fitting the front valance. This is looking good. The front valance fit up very, very easily, very nicely, and that means that our lower width, so sometimes your fenders can be completely cocked like this way. This means that our lower width was correct, and that sets the width for everything, and everything's playing really nicely and very happily. So we got a couple accessories around here that I want to show you. We've got a bumper right there. We've got some like grill insert trim pieces, and we've got a grill, and we've got some other stuff floating around too. We've decided for sure that we're going to run the bumper and the grill. We're not sure about those grill inset pieces or not. We're going to look at the design aesthetic and kind of see how it all fits together. What we got to do though is make some more room to start mounting things and building more structure, which means chopping these bars, doing the final cut on these bars and bringing them back. We're going to bring the 2 bars back, come out with 1 bar that's going to connect into the front bumper. We're going to use the stock factory. This is very, very thick metal, stock factory front bumper on the Mustang. Use that as a front bumper for real. So I'm about 2 welds away from finishing up this back end, so I'm going to get it wrapped up and then we'll move back to the front. All right, guys, we finally got the front end completed. So the structure is in. Man, where do I even start? So we've got the front valance installed, splitters installed after that, front bumper with the bash bar behind it, we use that inset piece. It is it's a little dusty right now because we've been doing a lot of work around it, but anyways, that's steel it blacked. And then we got the grill behind it looking really, really good. And then our hood right here, we did some GT500 style hood pins. We're missing the pin part, but we'll find some of those. Don't you worry. Some standoffs off of the fender rails that we built to hold that hood in place there. The panel gaps aren't finalized yet because we have to tear all this down, fully weld out some different parts, paint it all, and then it will get reassembled. But this is huge milestone. I really like the way it looks on a lot of Mustangs. A big issue that I don't like is that the front bumper sits way high off the ground. Our front splitter, this is like a Ford factory recreation front splitter, and I really like the look of it. Bought it from Dynacorn, Nick's Garage. As we come along to the back, I modified these rear tail end caps, whatever they're called, modified them to allow for the bumper to suck up a little bit more. We brought our bumper in about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 of an inch to be more flush with the body lines. Welded in the panels, so everything's actually welded now. The rear panel is welded to our rear roll bar. The side panels and everything are welded to that. And then we took the low piece, I don't even know what that's called, but the lowest rear piece, welded that in, bolted the bumper into the bar, the cage bar that's behind it. This guy right here. Bolted that into there. And then we got our LED taillights and taillight surrounds and taillight buckets all installed in there too. So we are ready to move on to the trunk. And that All right, we got our electric power steering booster mounted at the right angle to shoot our shaft through in the right spot. I trimmed the shaft and welded it all together. It's the paint is drying up on that now, and we should have a really nice fit. So we'll show you that when it's all done. We're moving over to a couple different things. One of them is when we did our original design for this harness bar, we were going to come off of here, but as you guys know, we want to lean this seat back as far as we can, and these were getting in the way of our room to lean our seat. So we redesigned the firewall so we could put the harnesses behind this bar right here and just wrap them around the bar rather than do this and then another bracket and then into the seat. So we're going to cut all these off right now. Oscar's going to work on cutting those off, and I am going to start prepping the doors for installation. Check out this beautiful arrangement of Nitto tires. Huge thanks to Nitto for all the tires for LS Fest. We got NT05s for drag racing this here Mustang. They were for that they're single seater, but it's not going to be drag racing this time. Maybe the one in Kentucky will drag race. So NT05s for drag racing. Those are our actual wheels we're going to use, and then those are some burners if we want to do some drifting. They hooked us up big time. Link will be in the description. Thank you, Nitto. I love you guys. Koenig wheels also always hooking us up. These wheels are awesome. They're going to go on our Lemons car as well, and we got some hypergrams back there for our drifting. I'll show you in a second. So doors. This door has active rust on it. That's not a good thing. We have passive rust, like some of this browning over here. That was like okay, cool patina on Oscar's car. But this is going to eat through the door, so we can't have this. And I'm going to take this door, so really can't have it. So what I'm going to do is get most of this rust off of here by a little bit of hand sanding, and then I'm going to mask this nice chrome piece off so I don't accidentally paint it. And then I'm going to hit this with some Steel It Gray, and that should stop it from rusting any further. are looking much better. All cleaned up. We're gonna go ahead and wipe the interior down with acetone and get ready for seam sealing, the final part of our firewall to keep it all super safe. And the door's almost ready. I didn't want this to like not match the patina look, so I purposely got a run in there. I purposely did that. And somebody mentioned that we didn't have a hi mom on this car, so hi mom. Doors are ready. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing wiped down in acetone and do our seam sealing. We're gonna do our best to make this look really, really good. We got doors on, we've got panels seam sealed. It is 2:30 a.m. I am very worried about the amount of time that we have left. So we're gonna go ahead and Oscar made a good point. He said, I'm gonna feel a lot better when we get the cowl on there and get the whole front end on. And I think that's a very, very good idea. So we're gonna go ahead and get the cowl on here. It'll get welded in. Or what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little strip weld so we can cut it back off later, because this all has to be sealed off from the world. We don't have time to do it right now. We're not far from being able to do it. We have all these inlay pieces made. We basically just have to make a flat piece that runs all the way across there and seals out all this, and then we'll be good to go. This is welded in, so this is all good. Steering is gonna be great. We just gotta put that shaft in. But yeah, so we're gonna strip weld the cowl in there so it will be able to be cut off, and then we're gonna build out the whole front end. Front end is almost on. We didn't make any changes to the front end other than the updated LED headlights are installed. They are not wired yet because we don't need headlights where we're going, but those are installed in there. And Oscar's just got one more bolt in that lower splitter, and then we'll be throwing the hood on, and that's a wrap for that. So now we got our seam sealer on everywhere that we wanted it. I did find a really good technique with laying tape as masking guidelines. Then I run my finger over these areas, pull the tape before it gets too firm, and you get a really, really nice finish on it. So like that's what I did down there as well. Looks really nice. So we're gonna be blasting this interior with the Steel It Black. It'll make it look so much better. It's gonna be quite a transformation. And then also the firewall from the backside as well. Well, oh, you can't even see that, it's so dark. We'll all get Steel It Black. It'll help kind of cover up some of our seam sealer ugliness as well. Lots of painting, and then we can start assembling stuff. This is gonna get exciting. Look at that transformation. I was just telling what's your name again? Oscar? Pablo? He said that, not me. I know the microphone doesn't pick him up when he does that. Anyways, I was just telling Oscar, if your car doesn't look good with a fresh coat of Steel It Black, then your car is kind of crap. It makes everything look really, really good. Inside, interior is looking great. Backside is looking really good. Everything looks really clean. So that's awesome. We're gonna go ahead and work in the front here. We've got some technical stuff we got to worry about as far as battery placement for racing. It's 6 in the morning, so we're all a little bit delusional, but still making good progress. Wait, no, well, we just took a break for the paint to dry, so we've made no progress, but we will. All right, underneath this glorious hood is our relocated battery inside its battery tray. So it's double firewalled off from the driver's compartment. That's good. We're gonna be able to do our stuff. You probably saw in the time lapse, we gave an attempt at doing the old, excuse you, Kyle. We gave a good attempt at doing the old school molding method of installing the windshield glass. Couldn't get it to work, so we are doing the new school way, which is glue it in. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue in the windshield. Oscar's gonna start getting our seat brackets ready to mount our seats in here. Probably gonna mount 2 of them even. Windshield installed successfully. So what we do when we're doing this, if we're gonna glue one that traditionally has molding, I order generic molding off of eBay, and this is like just a generic trim piece, and then I paint the inside of the windshield to the amount that I really like want to cover and hide for the glue on the inside, and it comes out looking really good. So we've done this on a few different builds, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Now, we've got to fit wheels on this bad boy. It is gonna be interesting. The car right now is sitting a few inches higher than it sat when we first got it, because it's on jacks right now essentially. So these wheels are going to go up even more, plus they need room to actuate. This is going to get crazy. What I'm going to do is start cutting, and I'm going to stop cutting when we're able to fit our wheel and tire package in here. I have a generic trailer fender that I ordered online to potentially use the steel from it. I'm going to use that as my template, my outline, to start my cutting, and I really hope I don't mess this up. I think it's gonna look really cool though when we get these wheels in here. Very, very, very cool. Huge wheels, low car, very, very low car plus huge wheels is always like Hot Wheels. Reveal. All right, guys. Well, this is interesting looking. Let me close the door here. It's sitting on its own wheels once again. It looks like the body's got a little bit of a rake to it. I can't really tell. It could be how the SLC chassis was the entire time, but when you look at the ground there and look at that bottom plate, that aluminum plate, that's all SLC chassis, and it looks like it's up a little bit higher in the front. Not really sure. The car looks amazing. It's probably, the suspension probably hasn't settled at all either, so it's probably gonna go a little bit lower, but it is pretty insane-o wide. Let's jump over to the interior, and then I'm gonna talk about my opinions on the wide body. So, inside the interior, the overall color scheme for this car, by the way, guys, is black with red accents. So, Corbo sent us these amazing black leather seats with red accents, with diamond stitching, and these awesome 5-point harnesses. They're all SFI approved, so we can take them and use them for racing and everything like that. That made the interior just about a million times better. So huge shout out to Corbo for the support on this build. We appreciate it so much. These seats look amazing in this car. It's super, super comfortable. The seating position is fantastic as well. They recline and everything like that. So I will have a link to Corbo's website. I can't thank them enough. If you guys are looking for a great set of seats, good quality, and also very economical, I would check them out. So we got seats and harnesses all installed, and back to the wide body. Okay, so We have a saying around here when we're building crazy stuff, and it's trust the render. Trust the render. From some angles, the renderings that I have look really cool with this. It's basically very, very similar to Ken Block's Unicorn's Widebody. And from some angles, I love the look of that car, and from some angles, I'll be honest, I don't like the look of that car. And so this is an option. One thing that's not an option and never was an option was running a completely flush wheel or maybe a little bit of poke out in a mild wide body. That was never an option. We measured it out so many different ways. We tried our hardest, but something like this is an option. This is a set of burners, drift wheels that Koenig sent us, and Nitto was awesome enough to give us tires for. And this is just a 10.5 inch wide rear on an 18 with a nice meaty rear tire. Sticks out a lot less. And this would allow us to build a more mild wide body if we wanted to. So those are the options. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. We're going to be bringing both sets of wheels and tires to LS Fest so we can test them out. I'm not going to be building a wide body kit onto this right now because, as you can imagine, if the suspension settles anymore, we go driving around and we start scraping, then I have to go cut everything off and go all the way back to scratch. So this is the perfect time to take it out on a track, take it out, drive it in anger, and figure out if it's scraping. Then we just grab the cutoff wheel. It's battery powered. We bring it with us. We zip another line around it and like take off a 1/4 inch, take off a 1/2 inch. And we can figure out exactly where our fenders need to be trimmed and where we can stop trimming them. This is just crazy. Another hard thing about having really wide-bodied Mustangs is the front end. The front end of this car is absolutely beautiful as it sits right now, but when you widen it out so much over here, it becomes really hard to integrate into that look. That's probably the most challenging thing, and yeah, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't have a great design. I think that even the Unicorn, that's where the design kind of falters. So we're here at the chaos that is LS Fest. All right guys, Mustang is ready to rock. Oscar's gonna go ahead and load into it, and we're gonna go down the strip. We should be able to race pretty quick here. Let's see that one more time. Okay, a little bit of quick, crisp voiceover here. So, great launch, great start down the drag strip, and then for some reason, you just completely out of the throttle right here, and then the whole rest of the run gets really, really slow. I'm no stranger to slow runs, but let's talk to Oscar and figure out what happened. Oscar, all right, so didn't go super fast.
Nope.
But I'm super happy that you got to drive it. We only got one pass today, guys. That is unfortunate. He did not want to just full send the first pass.
No, I didn't.
What was our time?
All right, so as soon as I got off the track, they kicked me off because I ran a 9.7.
9.76. Wow, that is really impressive.
That's really fast. And then we realized that wasn't me.
That was the other lane?
That was the other lane.
16.787.
16.7.
So Oscar had already told me, not sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, we decided that it would probably be fine not putting pins to hold down the back of the hood, and
it was not a great call.
It wasn't a good call. So he's got hood floating up, like taking out half of his line of sight. So he pedaled it out at the back end, and this is mostly our fault, to be honest. This event is an amazing event. They give you lots and lots of opportunities to drag race, but we're very new at this and trying to find our time when we fit in and scheduling and stuff. We were trying to work on other cars, obviously working on the Burnt-A-Con and doing cool stuff with that. We just didn't get enough runs in.
Nope.
But you know, next year. Or, you know, we've got a lot of drag racing ahead for this upcoming summer.
Yep, it's summertime, so now our tracks are open. We can fine tune some stuff, get some stuff tied
Actually,
down.
You know, get the panels down. Oh yeah, the other thing he said is the fenders were sailing. They were like,
yeah, the fenders and the hood were doing this.
Yeah. So, you know, we rushed it, but we ran it, and Oscar had a fun time, and that is what this whole thing is all about. Is just coming out here and having fun. And the car held together, and it was safe, and so that makes me really happy.
This is a good car.
It's worth the work, right?
Yeah, it's a good car.
And we got a shakedown. We got our first test drive. It test drove great, and you got your first drag race pass on it.
Yep.
Dude, I'm excited. That's awesome. So today's been a really, really cool day. I woke up this morning 6 a.m. with a text from Holley saying we've chose your vehicle to be in our booth, but we're very concerned about you getting it done and looking like the rendering in time. And I said, I promise you, on my life, we will have this build looking perfect and ready for SEMA. And they said, all right, it's going to be in our booth. Make it look good. So I feel like we got handed like the biggest challenge, and it's against a really tight deadline, but I know we can do it. We have a really skilled team, we have a really great vision, we have a good design, and we can make it happen. So let's jump into like what needs to make that happen. Oscar is really excited to get started / nervous about the deadline. I could tell. Very tight deadline. It's a very, very tight deadline. We don't have room for anything to go wrong. So he wants to start working first on getting the doors, because it is the best way to build a car when you're doing a lot of custom stuff is you get the door set right with the quarter panel, then it tells you how you're going to set your fender and everything like that. So new doors, go ahead, fire away. Let's get some new doors with the fastback glass in them, rocking and rolling. That's a good looking under cowl area. You guys did a great job. So now we're gonna go ahead and seam seal everywhere, seam seal it all up closed, and then it will get a coat of paint. Okay, we got that all seam sealed up and a layer of Steelite black on there. The Steelite is corrosion resistant. It's got stainless steel built into it, so that's really good for fighting the weather down in that area. So now we just got to take the cowl, get it back on there in the place that it goes, and get it welded in there, and we are good to go. Alright guys, we got the cowl back on there and that's all good. So now we're gonna go ahead and set the front fenders, and we ran into a bit of an interesting issue here. So these are reproduction fenders. I don't know if they're from Dynacorn or not. They might be, but wherever they're from, they don't fit well, like whatsoever. It's a big issue. I've seen other people online posting about this, but this is like really bad. So both of these fenders are really not fitting up. So we immediately went and thought, well, it's probably our own fault with the door. We didn't do something right about the door and blah, blah, blah. So we went and grabbed Old Green here, the OEM fender, and it fits up really, really nicely. It's just like a direct fit and we're good to go. This is just resting on here and it looks 10 times better. So what we've kind of been learning here on this process is that the reproduction metal isn't exact to how they used to produce the metal. Actually makes a lot of sense considering how many things we've fought in the process of building this car. So I think we're gonna look around and see if we can source a OEM, an original fender for the passenger side. If we could, then we'll just run 2 OEM fenders. If not, it's gonna be hours of struggling with one of these ones to, you know, pray we can make it look right. All right, Oscar made a valiant effort, cut it up multiple times, but it just really is not fitting the way that we wanted to see it fit up. Too big of a door gap, different gaps, just too many problems. So we're gonna save it just in case, but we're gonna move on expecting to replace it. So here's the design, what it looks like on the front end. Really, when you account for the wide body and the different stuff, and the custom front bumper, it's mostly just the headlight buckets that are the OEM parts. So it's easy enough to do the facelift for us. So what we need to do is make these headlight buckets flow into our hood and our 1967 fenders. So we'll either be modifying the fenders or the headlight bucket, not really sure. This is the fun part. This is where we get to get really creative and trim and cut and fit and see what it looks like. I'm excited. Let's go for it. Headlight bucket is installed. Now, this is gonna look a little crazy, guys, but you need to follow along with the vision here. This is actually working out pretty perfectly. So this body line flows perfectly into this headlight bucket. It has some adjustability in here. Don't mind that lip. Anyways, so that flows perfectly down into here. And then if you look at our design, here, I'll circle it on the screen for you. Straight from here, we have to start building off into our wide body. So we don't have to worry about the fact that there's so much overlap right here. And our car is all just getting wider. We build off of here, and then it goes into our own custom front bumper that builds off of here and connects up with the wheel, which will be 3 inches further out this way. So that's actually a really big win. And we looked at all the other stuff as far as how we're going to be building the grill and the angles and everything, and we're digging it. We're liking how it looks. So now it's time to go ahead and get a bucket on the other side, and then we can look at it all together. So Oscar modified the hood to have the rear hood poppers. We've been running these in a lot of cars where we run front poppers too. And so they go right there off of these standoffs. And he got the hood, adjusted straight with the cowl and straight with the other fender. So now it's time to full commit to the crazy modification of this thing and try and keep cutting until we get it to look right. Fender modification was a pretty decent success, although we still are open to the idea of an OEM fender if anybody's got one laying around. If you're close by, definitely don't hesitate to email me. So we've got the headlight buckets in there, and we're shaping up, and we're looking at the rendering. Where's the computer? Looking at that part. A lot of the parts, these aftermarket, I don't know, if these are aftermarket or really where they come from. They're not very good quality. The fit and finish is absolutely terrible. And I have a feeling that if you hunt it around for long enough, you might find a good one or whatever. It kind of seems to be the theme, is a lot of these reproduction parts are not very good. So we're finding out that we need to make some parts for ourselves, and we're basically figuring out what all those parts are. Oscar, you want to, here, let's show them. So this is the lower grill piece. So you have to imagine with us for a second, we've got our headlights here, we've got our grill rolling through there, and then we have this lower grill piece that steps it out a little bit, and then our bumper we start to build off of this. There is a little extension here, and then in the rendering this drops down by about 1 inch and goes across like that. So what we were doing is we were mocking up with this piece of sheet metal that we bought from the factory from the 1970, the angle, and the angle is like way harder than in the rendering and way harder than what our hood is. We want the angle to be a little bit closer to what our hood is. So we're gonna go ahead and make a cut. We're gonna make a cut right through here, widen that out, and use that as a test piece because it's definitely not gonna be used in production because it's also crap. this kind of work. This is like the fun problem solving where the car really comes together, and I don't know, it's awesome. By the way, this is how crap this piece was. It's got like some finish on it, like it literally, the finish just came off on painter's tape. It just peeled right off, so garbage. Anyways, we widened that out and we got the peak just how we want it, and it's got just the right, so the hood's supposed to overhang just a little bit, and we've got just the right amount of overhang. So that's awesome. We've got a strategy for how we're gonna build out the rest of this front end before we get into our front bumper, but that's gonna be a job for tomorrow. For today, I wanna show you guys how insanely wide we're gonna make this vehicle. So like I said before, these are the wheels that we're gonna use building for mock-up, for everything like that. These are the wheels and tires, and then we have new wheels and tires being produced. You know what, to be honest, the tires are actually already produced, but the wheels are being made. So we're going 3 inches out more in the front and 7 inches out more in the rear. We're gonna have to stack some wheel spacers to do this, but this is how wide the car is actually going to be. We have a 12-inch wide wheel in the back with a negative 120 millimeter offset. It's absolutely mental. Well, this looks a little crazy even for us. But we have a saying around here when it comes down to like doing SEMA builds and stuff: trust the rendering. Trust the rendering, build to spec to the render, and it will turn out amazing. The rendering looks amazing, so as long as we build that in real life, you know. Yeah, it's really, really wide. Now, I want to reiterate, there will be no wheel spacers. We have custom wheels being made that are the width and the offset of what we're emulating here. There's no wheel spacers in the long run, just awesome wheels being made. So, as I start to go this way, it gets really obvious of how insanely wide this thing is. It's kind of crazy. The back is just nuts. The wheel and tire is going to go further inwards this way, because this is a 10.5 and we're moving up to a 12, so it's going to go in more that way, which will look a little bit better. But yeah, this is what the rendering called for. It's absolutely insane. So we get to build our own custom wide body kit. As you guys have seen in the rendering, it kind of comes off of here, flows out into here. This comes up more. Oh, the other thing is we're gonna lower the car a ton. This is as high as the car goes because we were trying to stop a scraping issue that happens on 18-inch wheels. So we're upgrading to 19-inch wheels, and we're just gonna slam the car all the way to the ground, as low as it can be while still being drivable, because that's what the rendering does. All right, guys, 29 days until SEMA. Oscar just wrapped up building 2 of the front end pieces. So we didn't have the material to start this early in the morning, so we started this guy. Now this is our bar that runs across here, makes this initial step. It eventually flows into this over here, this nice flat over here. So this is gonna be fiberglassed in, and then it'll flow into that nice radius right there. And that is a finished piece that you'll see right there on the front of the car. Then the next piece is this piece. So it's kind of hard to see because it's all in the shadows here, but that's the second step up piece that runs into our grill. So this is just, you know, continuing the work to follow the renders, building stuff out of raw steel rather than trying to make the other stuff work. So imagine you have the headlight, rest of the headlight bucket, headlight, grill flowing all the way through here with the hexagonal honeycomb pattern, and then the other headlight bucket. And underneath sits our own custom bumper. So very far in the process of the front end. Looking mean. Oscar's got the new trim piece, the front end piece, and the new bash bar built in right behind that to support it all. Can't even really see it. That's the idea. Now, we mentioned this a little bit in the last episode, but we gotta go, this car's gotta go down a lot more. It's raised up as high as it can go. It needs to go closer to as low as it can go, or around there, before we start building our wide body kit and start designing those over fenders. So we're gonna hit the coilovers and crank them back down. All right, now comes the exciting part. We've got the car lowered down to the right height that we want to have it at. We got that fender clearanced out so the wheel can fully turn back and forth. And now it's time to start creating our body kit. So the way we do this, I'm not saying this is the best way, but it's the best way that I know how, is we use solid steel rod in a few different thicknesses. This one right here is 1/4 inch. This one right here is 3/16. And we bend it into the shape that we want. Creating the exterior structure, if you will. Well, it's actually the interior structure of the shape that we want, expecting to lay a fabric over top of it. The way we get perfect bends is by using a roller and then obviously just matching it up with like circular things. So as you feed that rod through here, you can crank this thing down, roll it through, and it will shape it into a circle. So some of the base points for like a body kit is you need that flat section that follows your wheel and your tire arch. And at this point, I'm just gonna walk over to another car that already exists so I can kind of show you. So this Lamborghini is a perfect example. If we were trying to recreate this quarter panel out of thin air, we need a piece of metal for the inner structure that's going to run this bend and this bend, and then as we're going to tuck the fabric on the back side of it, stretch it over the front side of it, and it'll give us this flat spot right here. And then say, well, we want this bend right here. Now Lambo's like the easiest version because it's almost all designed with peaks and stuff, so it's like really easy. Anyways, if you wanted this, you run a rod from inside underneath there to there. One rod goes that way, one rod goes that way. You guys get the idea? We're building this inner structure, and then we're like throwing fabric over it, tightening that fabric down, and then we can fiberglass right over that, and we're basically using that as an interior mold. So on this car, we're not building a body kit that bolts on and bolts off. This body kit is one piece. This fender and headlight bucket and the wide body part of the fender is all one piece, comes on and off the car as one piece. On our last one that we did for the the Burnt-A-Con, it's removable. Hence you can see it's not there. So you're gonna probably see us welding this metal rod straight to the body and then fiberglass over all of this stuff and then fiberglass it right to the body to have a nice secure connection with everything. Check that out. How cool does that look? So you can start to see what we're doing here is we're basically building the outer scaffolding for that body line right there, the ring around here, and the body line going back. All this stuff, although it would be a decently cool body kit if it just started here and goes down, that won't be, this is just structure. That won't actually be a part of the design because the design that we have, it flows from this edge right here. So that's the next step that we're working on. It's cutting out sheet metal and the different things that we're going to put in place to have the Cessonite tucked behind and then stretch to our end point right here. So Oscar's got a great example over here. This front end is like really shaping up and looking really, really cool. I'm super happy about it. So you can see how this is going through here. And then Oscar's templating out now with painter's tape where our sheet metal that holds the Cessonite down is going to roll through here and kind of come through here and down to here. And that will, the Cessonite's going to tuck under that and then run from that point out to our outer existing point. So it's a little, that might be a little complicated or hard to imagine, but when we show you guys it, it'll all probably fall into place. But I'm super happy with how I don't know, just aggressive and good looking this thing is, as wide as it is, and it's really, really coming together. So this is, like I said, this is an exciting episode because when we get to see this thing all together, it's gonna be super cool. Got some pros and cons to the Cessonite. Now, it's nothing that we can't work around. We'll tell you our strategy for what we're doing. We started heat gunning it, and we saw it shrink back, and it looks really cool. And then I kind of saw this edge right here. Lots of curvature here, lots of curvature here. That's not how it's supposed to look. If you wanted to build a, most body kits actually do have that curve right on. It's a really good use for that. Our design actually calls for a straight edge from this point to this point. As you're going across the radius, it needs to be straight, can't curve down. So we're gonna try the tape method next, which is just like it sounds. You just run tape straight, and you just have to make sure you're not running a piece of tape like crazy angle, but just run it straight like this, work your way through. All you need here is to have a structure, something that will hold the weight of the fiberglass and hold it in place so you can get some resin on that fiberglass, and once you get your first layer of fiberglass to dry, you're good enough to keep working. So we're gonna go ahead and try and work through this with tape. We still haven't gotten to the very, very complex angle that is that, so tape, I think, is gonna be our friend here. I hope. Tape was the method for this shape. Tape really worked out. We were able to get a lot of the contours that we needed in here and everything. One small mistake that was made was when we're pulling the tape originally from here to here, we actually pulled this bar a little bit over, so you can see it's supposed to be dead straight with the high point. It's really close, but it just jogs over a little bit. We can fix that in fiberglass. We just have to sand this edge of the peak down and then build this edge of the peak up, and it'll fix out. But that is looking really, really cool. With the color change, it does look a little strange, but once we get it all glassed in here, guys, it's gonna flow really nicely. This is looking awesome. So I'm really excited to see how it goes on the back. We're expecting the back to be more Cessonite than tape, but who knows at this point? We're surprising ourselves every day. Well, again, if you want that negative concave, that negative bend, Cessonite is killing it. We were able to get somewhat of a straight edge like through here, but other than that, it's got a lot of concave to it, which is just not the design. So, building a body kit out of tape, boys. We ran down to Harbor Freight. We got 10 rolls of tape. Hopefully we won't run out. It's tape strategy. It's kind of hilarious. Our body kit, the base layer, will be Harbor Freight tape. It will always be living underneath this Mustang. Okay, test over fender is completed. So the arch kind of comes out this way a little bit more to widen out this gap here, and then follows the already kind of established body arc where it's a lot more slanted here and it's a lot more flat here, and really just helps fatten up this section right here. It looks really, really good. I think that's like the big change that we needed to really help accentuate this area too, like diving down. It's hard to see with it all being blue tape, but it definitely gives it more of that curve that we wanted. So that is good, and now Oscar's got to, so this whole side's like wrapped up. Now Oscar's got to work onto this side and change it. You can see now when we look back at this side how much kind of like less dramatic this side is, and how much we really need that extra bend in there. And then we'll get that in there and we'll be able to move on to fiberglass. Oh, also the other front is done. So we got front number 1 and front number 2 is wrapped up. So yeah, we're close to being able to move on to the fiberglass stage, which is really exciting. It's time to move on to the next step, which is fiberglassing this stuff in. So we're gonna use some, oh, I just realized I had image stabilization turned off on the camera for a while. I'm really sorry about that. I'll try and fix it as much as I can in software. My bad. Now that we've got the shape, it's time to cut some of the tape back so we can have a mechanical bond to the actual car itself and start making this thing out of fiberglass. So we've got some 1.5 ounce chopped strand fiberglass mat. This is heavy duty, hardcore stuff that is really strong. So it won't take a ton of layers of this to have a very strong body kit. And then, like I said, bring that tape back so that you're actually fiberglassing and resining onto the primed metal, and it will bond onto your car really nicely. The game plan is that there still will be some blue tape underneath in the very bottom layer of this, and we don't care. The guys over at Fiberglass got us set up with this stuff. They're a really good resource for fiberglass, carbon fiber, all this stuff. They hooked us up with a bunch of these products when we were building the wide body kit and the carbon fiber doors on the BurntCon, which by the way is actually going back to SEMA, but we will unveil that at SEMA. We're gonna do some changes to it and send it back. Anyways, shout out to Fiberglass. Thank you for hooking us up with these products to let us make crazy stuff. And now it goes on the Mustang. There we go. We got 3 very thick layers of fiberglass on over our tape. So you can see how we cut the tape back on the edges where it's fiberglassing to the car, because that's like our mechanical bond, and the bottom side is just now masking tape and metal skeleton. Got the rear quarter done, and now this is the wider version, and you can see how much wider we went there on that quarter panel, and I think it looks really good. Oscar just finished taping off the other side as well. These have a little bit of concave to them that we don't want, and we're gonna work that out after we have glass in here by using a lot more fiberglass. That's it, guys. We built a body kit out of wire and tape and a little bit of Cessanite here and there, and we're getting it glassed in. That's enough. All right, so getting started, we went ahead and applied the 3 layers of fiberglass to each of the over fenders, and we've been filling in concave spots. We didn't want to have the concave, so this is a fiberglass reinforced body filler that's filling in this so it doesn't dip down, just goes straight. That's what we wanted. So we've done that on both back corners as well, and we're going to continue to do that on the front corners before we start sanding and shaping. Over in the front here, we're working on the front bumper. It's a very like custom, very intricate piece that really makes or breaks the whole build. So it's going to be a really hard thing to nail, but I think the Cessanite is going to help us here. This is the time when we're really thinking that it's going to pay off. Now the other thing too is this bumper has to be easily removable because it is so low and it sticks out so far from the front tires that anytime you're not racing this car, if it's going on transport or it's street driving or something, the bumper's probably going to have to come off, or it's really at risk of hitting a lot of stuff. And being a custom fiberglass front bumper, you really don't want that to be the case. So we're building it to essentially have quick releases in there so the bumper can can come off very easily and go back on easily. And Oscar's going to go ahead and build out the structure out of 1-inch square that runs the base, and then 1/2-inch round tube on the base. It'll all make sense when we build the frame. I've spent a lot of time on this fender and it's not really that close to being done, but I think I've got the strategy down and figured out now. So we're using low grit sandpaper on an air sanding block to shape and to keep straight edges, a little bit of using an orbital sander, and then some using of a flap disc too if there's just weird pieces of fiberglass that are stuck. The fiberglass is really, really strong, really hard to sand through. So basically the idea is just knock off all the high points in the fiberglass, anything that's protruding outside of like the straight line that we want, bring that all down and then backfill with body filler, and then you're sanding huge majority of that body filler back off, that then kind of exposes any small high points in the fiberglass or whatever, and you get this nice straight edge that we need here. So I've kind of got this section about 70% of the way through, and well, we got like the whole car left to go. So at least we figured out a method though to make this thing work and make it all nice and smooth. things are progressing, but we've burned through almost an entire day just sanding, but I guess that's the name of the game when you're working with fiberglass. So we got a skim coat on this quarter panel fender, sorry, keep calling it a quarter panel, and then that quarter panel sanded and ready for its skim coat. We want to start looking at the vent. So this big area right here looks kind of plain and you know, it's missing something. That's because it's supposed to have a vent. So we've got lots of ideas for vents, and we've got some old Shelby GT500 style side scoop vents that would work on a non-wide body car. So we want to start maybe cutting this up and seeing if we can integrate it into this to make a cool looking vent that still keeps the 67 styling. All right, guys, so we trimmed and we test fit and we test fit and we trimmed, and we got this scoop just how we like it. You can see a little bit of my my marker work here. That's a mark to cut out so the vent stays parallel to the body. The original design is on, here's the original design on the screen right now. That's on a 1970. And if you look at the door section right here, from here to here, on a 1970, it seems to actually bow out, which totally changes the vent design that Karana Devi, this very, very talented designer, originally designed for this wide body. So we wanted to do two things. One is keep the Shelby GT500 styling alive in this when we came into this vent section, because we also have the upper, they call that like, I think the sail panel vent, and we have the gas cap. So it was like, we really wanted to use these GT500 style vents if we could, and also we couldn't follow the rendering exactly because we don't have the same door situation. So we got creative and we put them on here, put it on here, and we absolutely love it. The only issue is integrating this vent takes a lot of time that we don't have. At the time where you guys are watching this video right now, we have 16 days until SEMA. So adding a bunch of custom fiberglass work is not something we should do, but this is why we are BS for Build and we run deadlines long and we work long hours and stuff, is because it's better to work through a night or whatever to get that on the car than to show up to SEMA and not do it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna cut the other vent to match it exactly, and we're gonna start to fiberglass these in. You can see Oscar's also starting to get his skim coat of body fill on this. We just really have to, we have the raw shape here of exactly what we need to make. So now we're getting the body fill over there to make sure we're filling in any low spots and any pits and stuff like that. Then we're gonna sand the hell out of these things, and we should be left with a good body kit. Now that that's done, how about another day of sanding? And that brings us to today. Let's start installing some stuff, shall we? All right, we are in the process of wrapping up all the work on this rear quarter of the vehicle, and this bad boy needs to go on. So this is a Shelby GT500 style rear quarter panel scoop. It's got, it's pretty cool because it vents air into the back, and we actually are a mid-engine car, so it's really functional, whereas with the front engine Mustang, I'm not exactly sure why they did that. Anyways, so we have this vent here and this vent here. We need to throw a little bit of, we got some perforated steel that's really, really cool that we're gonna fiberglass into these. So we have like, not mesh, but perforated steel. I think it looks better. It's a little bit more heavy duty as well. And then we're gonna panel bond this guy and maybe throw a few bolts in the back too, because we do have bolt holes that line up. This guy into here like this, and then we could start doing the final sanding on it as well. And it looks really, really, really cool. Very much complements our widened fenders. Quarter panel vents are installed. Guys, these look so good. It really helps start to like just, it really fills in all that blank space. There's always attractive stuff for your eye to go to. And with this perforated metal that we got in here, I feel like this is a perfect match. It's nice and like really industrial, and it feels really heavy duty rather than kind of the wimpier stuff. A little bit of finish work to do on this, still a little bit of body working. What we did was we fiberglassed these in. We were going to use panel bond, but we couldn't source any. Fiberglassing them in is also very, very strong. I think panel bond and then fiberglass is probably the ultimate way to do it, but this will be fine. We got body filler around here that needs to be sanded up, and these are good to go. So now Oscar is moving on to the side skirt. I realized a lot of you guys didn't know that we had side skirts coming in, so when you saw our last like Instagram posts and stuff like that, it looked bare in here, and that's because side skirt drops down over there 4.5 inches and runs the length over here, and then once it hits this part, jogs out and connects with this part here, and then from there there's another flat piece that helps fill in space there. We're gonna just start working right now on the straight down piece of the side skirt. You guys, the side skirts are done. They look incredible, but we're in the middle of a little added body filler to round and edge process, so you can't see the finished product yet. It's quality filmmaking right there. See, now you have to stay tuned till the end to see the finished result. YouTubing 101, give them something to watch for.
Not the ridiculous schedule.
Not the content. Actually, yeah, just keep watching because we're building something awesome. Here we go on to more awesome stuff right here. All right, so this vehicle is mid-engined. It's very high off the ground right now, so it's kind of hard to film right now. It's mid-engine, and we want to be able to service this whole engine area, so we thought it'd be really cool if we made it pretty easy to remove the entire trunk lid, made this piece actually removable rather than completely filling it in, which most people do. They just completely fill that in, and then make our glass and hatch fully removable as well. Now normally you got to seal that glass in there really well with weather stripping and everything, because if a drop of water gets in there, oh no, that's a really bad deal because you got water in the inside of your car. Not for us, because it's just a engine bay. It's just like if water goes over your hood, right? So it gives us a very unique opportunity to make all this stuff removable. So say we're at the racetrack or doing anything and we want to make any changes, we can literally take this off, take that off, jump into the engine bay and work on our engine. So that's the game plan. We've engineered and designed all this so we can make it removable. Now we got to make it real real. So game plan is the trunk lid is going to slot into a bar that we're probably gonna have to run across underneath here, and the trunk lid is going to slot in and then clip down with the standard key and lock mechanism. So slot in, snap down. And then this piece will be removable and probably part of the hatch that we'll get into afterwards. So Oscar's gonna start fabrication on our Fastback duckbill trunk lid.
There is a meaning buried within the sound.
The trunk lid is firmly attached. So what we ended up doing, what Oscar ended up doing, was building a slotting system. So it slots in forward and then it slots down, and we have these cool little latches that we're gonna use in the back here. It's like a nice little unique touch that we have there. So now that that's done, we are going to move forward towards the rear hatch soon, but we want to get a little bit further on the body work. We need to really progress with that so we can be ready. We have someone coming in to help us wrap tomorrow. This is really cool. Okay, so we're getting the car dust free. We got to get the area dust free, and we got the wrap guys here. So we have Fred from Rapco PDX, and he called in all his friends from the area that could help us today, and they're going to bust out as much of the car as they possibly can today. They're doing us a huge favor because, like I said, last minute our wrap person bailed on us, and they're just literally just coming in and saving the day. So we last night stayed up late, got the primer all sanded down, got everything smooth, and everything's finished out, and now they're going to do their thing on the Mustang. This is going to be a very exciting transformation to see. Well, guys, we asked for help on Instagram, and I kid you not, we have half of the guys that do wrap in the Portland area all on the car at one time. There's 4 people over there wrapping stuff right now, and it's going great. Now let's talk about what's not going great. The dash. It's been a real struggle. We want it to look really good, and it's putting up a fight. Now Ford makes a dash pad, and it wasn't fitting because we have roll cage and some other things, and we've decided that we should try and trim the dash pad and utilize it. So that's the next play. We're going to try and utilize that so we can use some of the nice lines that it has and the flexibility that it has as well. So, dash pad. All right, guys, it's a new morning. Oh my God, I got so much dust on the lens. Hang on. Keeps happening. There's a lot of dust in here. It's a new morning, just woke up. We're doing about 4 hours of sleep every night. Well, that was the last time. Now we just don't sleep until the cars go. Anyways, let me give you an update. So the direct port nitrous system we were working on in the background a little bit. This is each, well, these are the solenoids, the 4 solenoids, and this one happens to be a nitrous solenoid. And you can see how it has a distribution block and 4 outputs. So there's one for each bank of cylinders. And then what we did, this is the hard part actually, well, one of the harder parts is, so we got our Holley high ram intake manifold right here, and we've tapped, drilled and tapped each port input. So each one of these guys gets a nitrous and a fuel line. The solenoids open up when you hit the button to allow that nitrous and fuel to go into the cylinder and then flow into your engine. So there's a lot of cool plumbing that goes on here and mounting of the solenoids, and then from there we're straight to the bottle. So we're getting close. This is the hard part, the heavy duty part, and then from here it just keeps looking even cooler. I really love a good V8 direct port nitrous system because of all the crazy lines. This is all the hosing. There's going to be 16 lines running off into these distribution blocks, and then from the distribution blocks to the nitrous bottles and the fuel system. So that's super cool. Getting close. On the wrap side of the world, front bumper's done. Hood is done. All of the fenders are done. The doors are done. The roof is done. The rear bumper is done. The trunk lid is not done, and the rear hatch doesn't exist yet. So we should probably build one of those. That's looking good. And on the interior side of the world, I'm just gonna say we are getting there. The dash pad idea worked out. This has got to be flushed in, and then we've got some OEM, well, reproduction Mustang trim pieces that are gonna flow through here. We've got a new shifter coming in. We've got carpet coming in. Good things are gonna happen in this interior. All right, guys, the dash section of the interior is complete. I'm gonna go ahead and peel this safety. There we go. Ta-da! Now, to make that thing actually light up and our keypad manage our power distribution, there's a lot more work to be done. But this is a really cool step. This is basically a 100% custom Mustang dash to fit our needs, and I love it. We still have more interior work, but we want to get a lot of the wiring and the cabling stuff done before we put the carpet in. It'd be really bad to put new carpet in and then have to be trying to run wires underneath it. And we also got a really banging new shifter. So we've shifted our attention to more wrapping and more blingy stuff. This back cleaned up so nicely. We've got all the accents on here. Everything's looking good. We're gonna put our logo right here, and we're looking really good. This is what the rear quarter like sail panel looks like, all fully wrapped out. It's looking beautiful, guys. It's looking really beautiful. Wait till you see it with the side skirt, the flats and the uprights. It's just nuts. So we've got the trunk lid. Oscar fabricated that, and we know how it's being held down. The next thing is the middle fill panel leading into the rear hatch area with the glass. This needs to be a fully removable thing, which is completely custom, building, you know, the fastback glass that doesn't glue in, it doesn't seal in. it's going in and needs to be able to come back out so we can service the engine bay. The idea is it should look just like this when we need to service it. You just step over this piece, you walk into your engine, and you do any engine work. So that's what we're gonna do next. Start with the rear fill panel. We're gonna be building a surround that can hold the weight of the glass on this edge right here that also bolts in, well, slots in and slots out. We'll be gluing our glass to that. All right, guys, it is 3 a.m. Most of the wrapping, almost 100% of the wrapping is done. A big change is our front grille space is all blacked out now, so we got to build the grille, put the headlights in. Oscar's got a great smile on his face right now. I'm glad you like the look of it. I like the look of it as well. I think it really makes it look more aggressive. It's like, looks mean now. Before it kind of looked like a smiley face. Now it's like, now it's mad.
Now it's
mad.
face.
We got some alignment to do on the hood, but it's all looking very good. And then Oscar is about 90% of the way through building basically our rear hatch and window glass holder. He's working on the slotting mechanism right now, and then that back piece bolts in right through here. So we're really close to doing glass. Well, that's so exciting. And once we're done with that, and then we build our little clips for the trunk lid, that's all the body panels done on this car. Ooh, for the first time ever.
Yeah.
That's epic.
Oh, we gotta put side skirts on it.
Just jumping into the bumper, and we thought we were just widening this thing a little bit, but that is not the case. I wanted to show you guys before we spent forever working on this. So basically the body line comes down here. Go ahead and put it so it closes the gap up. If you close the gap up, this thing is basically like covering up our taillights in weird spots and really getting into, I mean, completely covering that up. Just looks really weird. So we're gonna have to drop it down and then custom build out these end pieces. I think we're gonna go up a little bit more, right like that, because the body line's supposed to have some overlap. And then we're gonna have to custom build these end pieces to keep coming up and follow up. So luckily Oscar is a very skilled metalworker fabricator, and he can handle this, but it is a very challenging piece. and we're on a very, very tight deadline, but we'll get it knocked out, and then I like that bumper placement. Also, we're gonna flush in all these holes because our bumper mounts in and bolts in from the back. Cruising right along through the day. It's about 9 p.m. We're almost done with this bumper. We went for metal backing, fiberglass, body fill, smoothing everything out. Kyle's been working on the doors right here. We've got the door card installed with the handle for the door open and the handle for the window roller. So we're gonna be jumping into the interior side now. We're gonna go ahead and give this a clean out and see if we can get some carpet in here. Carpet would be really nice. All right, guys, it is 5 a.m. and we got carpet in the middle section. We've got to do this tunnel, but we're working on some special ops for the shifter area. So since the bolt stores closes at 5 a.m., we need to switch gears. Oscar, you ready to see some wheels on this bad boy?
Heck yeah.
First time on the ground with the wheels on it and the side skirts. They haven't even seen the side skirts installed yet. It's like cherry on top. You guys, here comes the wheels. Damn! Expletives were said in the shop when this thing got down on the ground. Oh my God, you guys, this is crazy. Seeing it on the ground, you can really, it's wide. You could just see how crazy wide we made it and how it's got this hourglass shape to it and these wheels and everything. It's just such a good combo. Now it may go even lower because it's literally sitting on the quick jack. We got to get the side skirts on for you guys because the side skirts help box this thing out so much as well. It would be doing it injustice if we, oh my God, this is the best looking car we've ever made. Like, it really is. I'm so happy. We have 36 hours until we got to go to SEMA, and I'm just so happy. We still got a lot of stuff to install, but I'm still so happy. All right. Yeah, we need a mirror. Dang. All right, guys, let's get the side skirts on here. We're gonna have to figure out how to get it off the ground and off the quick jack. We'll get a side skirt on here and show you guys the complete new. It's just epic.
I'm at a loss for words. I need to wash my face.
Yeah, this is one of those pull your camera out type of moments. Take a picture, be very happy with what you've made. Side skirts are on. You can see we just followed the rendering with the original design of the side skirt, and they look really, really good. This is epic. Getting started here, Kyle's got the interior carpeting in and running the 5-point harnesses through the carpeting, and we noticed that the front bumper and front grille area had a little bit too much light colored paint, needed to be blacked out. So Kyle did a very thorough job to mask off the whole front of the car to black that out, and is moving on to accessories. We got things like the windshield wipers, very important thing to have on the car, and those actually work, as well as window felts that help guide our window up and down, and our side mirror. While Kyle was doing that, Oscar's working on installing our Holley Dominator EFI. So this car came with a stock GM ECU, which is great, but for the mods that we have planned for it, that will not cut it. We need something that we can easily modify and control our nitrous system with. So Oscar is installing a full Dominator EFI system, and the game plan here is to leave the engine exactly the way it was when it was last running, install the EFI system before we install any intake manifold or nitrous bits, and make sure that we can fire the engine and get it to start with the new EFI system. What are we missing? Did you plug in your injectors? All right, back behind the camera. Oscar just got this thing to fire up for the first time on the Holley Dominator EFI. That was exciting. That was a little scary at the beginning when it didn't work. What was that, cam sensor?
Yeah, it was the cam sensor was loose.
Cam sensor was loose. When my car didn't start, it was a blown fuse. But we're getting pretty good at the why I don't have spark, you know, the list of why you might not have spark. So now that we got the Holley EFI, it's tucked under there, right there. That's running, so now we're running that to our Holley Pro Dash. Kyle's working on that on the interior side of the world. He's got the GPS unit in there and getting everything plumbed so we can have our big, beautiful dash. Another thing we worked on in the background is checking out our headlights. So the rendering, the original design, yellow, and then the headlights that I kind of picked out, black. I honestly cannot make up my mind. I let the guys kind of decide. They like yellow, so we're gonna go with yellow, but I'm also bringing black to the show, and I might swap them out midway through SEMA so people can get pictures of both. I don't know. So we're hoping with any luck to get the interior finished out pretty quickly, but we gotta do some serious modifications to our shifter because we have a lack of parts, which I'll get into in a little bit. And what Oscar's working on right now is cleaning out the engine bay because we gotta swap out the intake manifold to go to our nitrous intake manifold, the direct pour nitrous intake manifold. But Oscar just brought up a good point. He should start working on the shifter, so let's jump into that. So this is the old shifter that came with the car. It is rough AF. And this is my preferred shifter anytime you have a Porsche transaxle in your car. It's the numeric shifter. Check them out online. There's a link in the description. They sent us this bad boy out. Now, you got your cables. We have Porsche cables here that run to the trans. They have different cable ends. The proper thing to do would be to order the right cable end on the internet and wait. But SEMA is literally tomorrow, so we're gonna weld some things to some things and make it work. And we got a little surprise. Look at this beast of an intake manifold. Holley high-rise intake manifold with direct port nitrous injection. I love it. So, these are the solenoids. We've gone over this a million times. Nitrous, fuel. Oscar's got 2 more fuel lines to make, and then we're jumping into the engine bay to get this thing installed. Basically, we wanted the engine bay to just be like a glorious picture of nitrous and LS engine. But first things first, engine side of the world. We've got to get this intake manifold off to make room for the new intake manifold to come on. That's going to be fuel rails as well, and then we're going to take the coil brackets off so we can relocate them and have nice, pretty exposed valve covers. Update time. How you feeling, Oscar? Sleepy.
Yeah.
This is day, I think, 4 of us working through the night, every night for four nights in a row. It's quite a lot. We you know, like it or not, this thing's going to SEMA very soon. So it's 7 a.m. right now, 5 p.m. the car has to go on. Progress is slowed a little bit, as it would, because we're all exhausted. Work in the back is going well though. We have brackets have been made for the coils. Space for the new intake manifold is being made. We are getting close, and you can see Oscar has jumped into fabricating the front grille. So we have our headlights chosen. We're with the yellow now. Everybody's sold on yellow. I'm happy about yellow. It's gonna get this grille, and then we're gonna paint it, and then it gets mounted and pretty much done. There's not a lot of other fab work in the front. That's it. So we're just trying to knock different things off. Interior done. Grill going in, that'll knock out the front, and then we can just focus on the engine bay area. This is that last big push. The excitement of all of this gets us through, but we are very, very, like, ridiculously short on sleep. You're talking like maybe 3-4 hours over the last 70 hours. But it's gonna happen. Also, we can build at SEMA. If there's anything we can bring with us to accomplish at SEMA, we can do that as well, but we're gonna try and get it all banged out here. Oscar, would you like fries with that nitrous? Look at that. It's like a big high-rise supercharger, except we have nitrous. Looking good. So we've got the direct port nitrous injection. We did new valve covers, Holley high ram intake, new throttle body, relocated coil packs, the whole shebang. What's next, guys? We're doing some nitrous bottling?
First, we got to make sure there's no fuel leaks.
Oh, right. That's why we turned the camera on. Yeah. You know, we're a little sleepy. All right, so let's pressurize the system and make sure that no fuel is leaking from our newly plumbed nitrous system.
I don't smell gas.
We got 0 leaks.
Let's start it or just...
Let's think about this. Yeah, let's start it. Interesting. Yeah, out of the top 5 things that you don't want to have happen 6 hours before you leave for SEMA, I'd say becoming non-operational is, don't worry about it, we'll fix it. Why over dramatize it? If you guys have watched the show enough, you know how we troubleshoot these no start issues. Air, fuel, spark, lube. We know we have oil. Air, we already talked about, that could be an issue. Fuel, we could test a lot of different ways, and we shall. And spark is what Oscar thinks is sus. So we shall troubleshoot. I don't want to interrupt the guys, so I'm kind of over here in a corner hiding out. It's 9 o'clock already. We've got almost every other car loaded up. The guys are working on the engine bay still, but the huge thing that I'm worried about, we still haven't got the car to start or run. It'd be really embarrassing to have such a good looking car at SEMA and be pushing it. Slight change of plans, guys. We had to call an audible. If we got it all done here in the shop, would it really be SEMA crunch time? Would it really be what? I don't know. I can't do this motivation. It's too late. All right, so here's the deal. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we're out of time, so we're gonna have to do it at SEMA. The car loads in on a Sunday. The show starts on a Tuesday, which gives us part of Sunday and all of Monday to continue working. Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to SEMA 2022. We are inside the Holley booth. The Mustang is right here behind me. So if you remember in the last episode where we left off, car had to be pushed. And it got pushed a lot. And when you bring a car to SEMA that has to be pushed, it gets loaded in at about 8 o'clock at night. Everybody else is gone. Gives us our own little private time to work on the car. When we left it last, we weren't getting a crank signal to the ECU. The ECU was not reading a crank signal. There's a lot of different reasons that could happen. But when it did happen, it happened really sporadically. We just changed the intake manifold. We didn't do anything else like that. We started it, then it worked fine with the new ECU. We changed the intake manifold, and then it didn't work. So in today's episode, we are going to troubleshoot this thing. We're gonna get it started and get it running, and then we're gonna complete the build by installing our nitrous and finishing out the back end so we have the completed image that we promised that we would build. And we're gonna do it all here from the Holley booth. Sometimes it's just when you think that you've ran out of ideas that another really good idea comes up. This one feels promising. So we didn't follow the instructions when we installed this thing. More correctly, Oscar did not follow the instructions. To his credit, normally I do the wiring for the ECU stuff. I've kind of dove into this stuff a long time ago, and I've been doing it with a lot of the different wiring on the projects. And one really important thing with the Holley, it says it in really bold letters on the installation guide, is that you gotta run a direct power line straight to the battery, straight to the ECU with no interruptions. On a mid-engine car, it's a lot easier to just run it off of the alternator lug because you have a big fat power cord there. But what can happen is when the voltage starts to drop down and get too low, it gets really unhappy, and you can sometimes not catch signals because they start to get dirty. We're really thinking that that's what happened. That would be great if that's what happened because that's an easy fix. We run a direct wire to the ECU, we charge our battery, and it also makes sense why it would have started once and then it stopped starting is because the battery voltage just kept getting lower and lower and lower. Really hoping this is going to do it. Alright guys, this is a big moment of truth energy. We rewired the whole thing. We've got a direct to battery. We charged our battery. This is the last idea we've got. It has to work. This show is like, I mean, it's not about to start. We have all day today, but we got a lot of other stuff to do. Okay, anyways, there's a lot riding on this. Let's key off and key on the ignition, and then you just fire this thing up. It's just gonna start right up. Make sure we're in neutral. Yeah, we got EC, yes, we got RPMs. I saw RPMs.
Okay, it's gonna go.
All right. God. Huh.
Something else is going on.
Okay.
It sounds like the timing's off.
It does sound like the timing's off.
Like it's fighting through compression.
Yes.
Okay, let's check our wiring we did on our corners.
Okay. This is big, guys. We got RPM back for the first time. Oh my God, we're so excited. It doesn't seem like we're that excited. But yeah, that it should have just fired right up. And it does seem like it's fighting. We should have more RPM. We're very low RPM and we have a full battery. It's never ran like that. So our timing is bad or something is off. Coils could be wired in wrong. Yeah, we got to troubleshoot this a little bit more, but we're close. We're close. Sorry I accidentally filmed this in time lapse, guys. This was a big double excitement moment. So you can see right about here, there's a big puff of smoke. We got the car to start. It's running a little rough because it's on a bad tune. But then right about here, A crescent wrench vibrates its way off the dash, lands directly in Oscar's iced tea can, puncturing the can and blasting me right in the face and all over the interior of the car with iced tea. Carbon bits have been installed. So this is our engine surround is all carbon fiber. It's really nice and angular and just bounces off all these corners. And then there's one piece here. So when we close this rear hatch, when you look in, all you're gonna be able to see is carbon fiber running down to some cool stuff, and then the intake and the nitrous and all that great stuff. So that is in there. Now we have our nitrous bottles and nitrous brackets right here. NOS provided to us by Holley. These guys right here. So we're gonna go ahead and get the brackets mounted, and that'll get these big bottles kind of coming off the sides right here. This was the vision, was like huge bottle, really cool intake manifold with direct port nitrous injection. This is looking so cool. Nitrous brackets are in. Getting a little cleanup going on. We got the car raised up. We are going to set the ride height to what we think looks best. We're actually going to be raising it a little bit. And once we have our ride height set, we can put it down, put our final back panel in and our nitrous bottles, attach them over there. And this thing is going to be dialed, and it's just waiting for a cleaning. Like I said, it's 5 a.m., so we've been here for, I think, a little over 5 hours. You know, work is work, and we're getting that done, and we're used to no sleep, but we're also being tortured. The Brembo booth has like a 45-second long audio clip of some weird song that has been playing on the same loop for the last 5 hours. I honestly think dealing with that is harder than doing the work. There is a power cable to their TV, and I have not ripped it out because it's just not the right thing to do. You're welcome, Brembo. I will take apologies in the form of brakes. Ride height is set. No more extreme tuck-in for these boys. We got it all equaled out on all sides. Now we're gonna go ahead and, what are we doing? We're gonna install the nitrous bottles into their holders. We're gonna put this back tray on here right here, and then we're gonna get, well, we're gonna show you guys what it looks like before we put the back hatch on. As far as good ideas go, the double nitrous bottle mid-engine direct port nitrous injection is a really good idea. This looks so freaking cool. We also have the carbon bottles if we want to switch to those, but I really like the black on black. So now we're gonna throw the rear hatch in. Oh, by the way, we have secret storage back here. We're storing a jack. We're gonna store a toolbox right here. Secret storage. Let's throw the rear hatch in, make sure everything still looks secret, make sure this looks good. It's been the longest work hours of any week of my entire life by a long shot, but this makes it all worth it. We had a vision, we had a plan, we knew what we could do. Let me show you the finished product. When you come to the show and you look around, you see the different builds there are, you start to see a lot of similarities. If you just go right outside that door, you'll find 20 C8 Corvettes that all look the same, just in different colors. That is not what we're about. That's not what this build is about. We build one of one cars to bring to these shows to show you guys what we can do. In just over 45 days, we transformed this thing from a pretty ratty looking movie car with a body on top to this one of a kind, one in the world, amazing, amazing car. It is highly functional as well. It steers great, it stops great, we got it running. This nitrous setup too is just the icing on the cake. I mean, it is such a cool looking engine bay. And obviously having it be right there, and we still have all the proportions right in the car. I mean, come on. This is the best thing. This is the best thing we've ever built. It took a lot of hours to do it, but I am super proud that we got here. When we rolled these cars into SEMA, we had a single seater that was subpar. We had a Mustang that didn't run. We had a lot of things broken. And while all of our friends are out having fun in Vegas and going to fancy dinners and whatnot, we're getting dirty as hell on the grind, putting in those long hours, but it is so worth it. It's 6 a.m. right now, which means we just worked 23 hours straight. The show opens in 1 hour. We made it with 1 hour to spare. That is cutting it close. I can't wait to see what you guys think. Leave a comment. Let me know how you like the build. If you're at the show, tag me in a story. Let me know what you think. Appreciate you guys so much. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of this stuff. I'll see you guys on the next one.